Welcome to another edition of the full 80 minutes on Show Me the Money Rugby League TV. The music is a massive hint to some groundbreaking and history-breaking news. I don't want this to be true, but sadly, all good things come to an end. It's affecting me emotionally.
Well, don't start that because we don't want that.
No.
Really?
No. Let it play. Let it play the final bit. Here we go.
I thought you were going to sing that line.
Regrets, I've had a few.
Right, turn it off, it's sending me off. Welcome to the full 80 minutes on Show Me the Money Rugby League TV. We do have some breaking news to announce. Over to you, Craig. Please. Don't set me off crying.
Well, I thought we were going to do it right.
We can't speak anymore.
We're going to speak about some of that. You know, I think I've spoke to lads. I spoke to lads off the record this morning, and we discussed it. And I feel like it's becoming a real conflict of interest. Us doing the show with the sport agency, it seemed a good idea. And we've always done it as honest as we can. And we've done it as, if you say cutting, and honest opinions. But I had been saying to the lads for the last month and a half that I felt it was, because the show's getting more popular, the opinions are getting a little bit more, how can I put, sent about there, and that's having a massive effect. And the one thing we won't do is let it have an effect on the players, with us having a relationship with clubs and with supporters, and with other players and with coaches and CEOs, and we can't let that affect the business. And I feel it has done lately. I've certainly felt it myself. By some, we can say something and then we clickbait, whatever. And I'm not blaming the journalist. Probably, I just think it's got to the stage because of the popularity of the show, which is a good, which is a plus for us. And, me and Mick started it all them years ago. We've had a few, knocks and blows, but and I noticed a swing. I noticed a little swing in all the positivity we can talk about for 2 hours, and we promote the game, and then they can just get one little bit, and suddenly you can explain why you've said this little bit. And I know with the players, it started to have a little bit of an effect on certain players. If we talk about somebody saying, let's just say, for instance, we talked this morning about a club, and we say, look how easy it was for Wigan to go through Cass's defence. Well, then we've got players in that defence. And suddenly you're then picking it up and you're thinking, oh God, when you might have some partner or a family say, God, that were a bit harsh on you. So in all aspects of rugby league, I feel it's crossing the line, us having opinions. And then I got some good friends probably a month ago said to me, look, just be careful within the game because we are different. We do call it as it is. We do have some fun with it. And 95% of it shows a promotion show for rugby league, and we don't get a fair shake at that. I've said this for a bit to lads off the record. We don't get a fair shake at that. I think we're the underground DJ. I think I've said it to you. With the fans love us. There's certain element of the game, watch it, but never endorse it. We've never had an endorsement from 50% of the game at that level. Yet they all watch it because they quote it. The marketing managers, the journalists, the people, a lot of people watching the game. I don't know if we become that program that they don't want to quote because they say, I can't give agent a bit of this. I don't know if Sam, our producer's just said, I hope you don't mind me saying, Sam said, it's been a swing to Show Me the Money and the show, the full 80 and what's. But I felt the pressure the last couple of months. In all aspects of it, and it hasn't become enjoyable, and I don't ever want to not enjoy it. Having a bit of crack with my mates, my son, and everybody, just having a bit of fun about rugby league, giving it some opinions. We've done some unbelievable opinions, and we talked about it off air, the ins and outs, who's got the best recruiting this year. We'll be honest with you, something's happened this morning, Mick will talk about it when we roll into the show. But that's a prime example of why it's difficult to do this job. We did a Castleford ins and outs. We said we missed out a couple of players. Some of our fans give us some boot. You're right, but we did say we didn't think it was a brilliant recruiting year. and we thought that cast would struggle along with Wakey, and that's what we said. We've actually started taking that out of the shows because we didn't want to offend anybody. Well, that's never been us. That we're just honest. That's never been us to delete something which we think we've wholehearted. We actually did a re-show on it, a full re-show on the cast, recruiting because we missed some, but mainly, let's be honest, because it was that negative what we put. I've then got to go and meet the coaches, and they're my friends. And then, people can use that to get a little bit on them. Hey, have you heard what they said about this? Have you heard what... It's not fair, and I certainly don't ever want a player or a friend of mine in the game having to protect us with other people who don't, let's be honest, the people who watch our show, unless I'm wrong here, are real rugby league fans and love you to bits. We've said lately, God, wherever we win grounds now, it's show me and full 80, where's Gledel, where's Jimmy, where's Joe, show me the money. Sam's the one who unfortunately don't get, I think it's probably fortunate that he don't put his face to it, but Sam's the one who don't get that type of, and we love it, and it's fantastic, and we love but I think the one thing is there is something for a show of this magnitude, and I've said this to you all, hopefully IMG, hopefully Super League, hopefully Sky, hopefully Channel 4, do a talk show like this where people have no boundaries and can give it some without wanting to hurt feelings, We did a thing the other day, we've done about 90 positive things and then you can get things, but it needs an honesty show because people don't want the reason we become popular and as popular as what we are doing. And just to give people an idea, I'm not going to quote exactly figures because Sam will probably tell me I'm wrong, but overall in a month now with everything, we could do 120,000 views on all. I think how many is there, Sam? There's like 5 or 6 different avenues we put it out on.
Yeah, around that.
Yeah, so the show in all avenues has got bigger and bigger. We only just sometimes they say, oh, you needed 2,000 views on YouTube, but you're not looking at downloads and Spotify and Twitter and Facebook and all the other avenues, and it's building up into a thing, which means hopefully we've done something right. But I'd say I don't think we've got a fair shake at times without being dramatic. I don't think we get a fair shake within the game. I've not seen a club, I've not seen anybody from within the game endorse the show. And we do it for nothing. So let people know this. This is all, we cover Sam's cost with equipment, but none of us are going to get a penny. We come here, we give our time up, we pay for production costs through the company, and we promote rugby league. We have never used this show, which Mick said to me this morning, I'm so shocked that somebody said to Mick, oh, you promote his players. We don't ever promote our players. We promote every player. We have a bit of fun when we talk about our play, it's a bit of crack, but this we won't be talking for an hour and a half about the politics of rugby league if I wanted to promote my own players. Come on. Yeah. That's ridiculous. We talk about every single agenda. In fact, there's a parent this week said, I wouldn't know about the game if it wasn't for watching the show. It gives me the current news. It gives me an explanation of why these things happen. So it must be that type of show where people go, wow, I can understand rugby league better by what the lads are saying. I hope I can quote a top coach who texted me and he said, I don't know what's happening in rugby league unless I watch your show. That was yesterday. I don't know what's happening in rugby league unless I watch your show because it gives me everything that's happening and then I can bang, that's away. So I don't think we've had a fair shake. We've never been given, like I said, any endorsement from about 50% of the game. It's not a dig. I don't want to get into, oh my God, we all need to help this and that. Ridiculous. That's just stating facts, stating complete facts. The people who come on as guests, thank you very much. Thank you everybody what we've all done. Sam, the legend, we're going to roll into the show here, but the legend, Gledel, I've had a 8-year friendship with you, Mick, on this show. You've been fantastic. Jomie's joined the clan, and he's never going to be his dad, but he's going to give it a good go, no. And we've got the Mystic Meg, and we laugh about Jimmy, so a bit of crack, we always say Jimmy sits on fence a lot. Joe will want Jimmy to come out of it. But it works that we all are a bit different. Joe's very passionate. Mick's more Joe, they'll bang in. And I said this to you this morning, I haven't been as me. I'm starting to watch what I say, which I never wanted anyway. I've noticed myself, we're asking Sam to edit loads of stuff. We never used to do that. We never felt the need to. Maybe that's just modern society and watching what you say that much that you're scared to say it. So anyway, let's roll on into the show. We're going to make this last one. On the good news is, this is what we talked about, hoping to do some stuff on players coaching, individual coaching, what we dreamt about doing before. So it'll be one-on-ones with people coming down here, having coaching of a top player, of a top coach, and young players telling their journey. It's a little bit more individual and think to the to be selfishly for the company, because people think we've been like that. Well, we are going to be like that. We'll do it what's right for us. I want to do some commentary. Me and Mick and the lads and Sam, we've said we want to do some live commentary and a bit of fun, and have a bit of fun with it, and just go and do it. I'm hoping Mick gets us a gig this weekend, and we'll do it straight into Show Me the Money TV, Rugby live. We'll do a proper commentary and have a bit of fun, but the politics and the real gritty bits we're probably going to leave alone. That's it. We'll leave it as it is. Let's get into the cast bit.
So everybody's watching this, Craig, and they're probably shocked and saddened.
In tears.
I don't want you to go. I'm not saying there's going to be a backlash or anything like that, but a lot of people clearly are going to miss you, Craig.
Well,
not more so than
we're
myself.
We're going to miss them. We're going to miss the fan. You know, me, who's and it's not all. Listen, the fans they're the ones we do it for, aren't they?
Yeah.
With the people.
Yeah.
We should have got the people's champion. I think we are the people's champion.
Because ultimately, we don't do this for CEOs or Super League coaches or general managers or anybody within the game to nitpick and then say, oh, Craig, you said this, Jimmy, you said that, Joe, you said that, or Mick, why have you said that? We've always done this from the heart. We've always been honest, called a spade, and we've done it for you lovely people, the people who've supported us from day one.
Yeah, and Mick, we know all elements. The journalists have been made, you know, we give that much content on a Monday, but again, it's not as if anybody quotes you. These people, these young lads who are marketing managers at the Super League clubs, they don't say what a great idea this is. They, you know, we don't get anything, and that's the big area. I'd actually think, I wonder why we don't get anybody from above a certain level does not endorse or give the show a bit of toffee. When you've told me, Sam said it, Joe, Jimmy, me, you've talked to top athletes, top coaches, top CEOs. We all watch the show.
They all watch the show.
What? It's too late, but why didn't you should have put, you know, that's what they should have done. They should have said, you know what, why didn't you get... You imagine somebody said to me the other day, a person within the game, oh, you held back on a few comments. And I went, but we've never held back on comments. You spent a lot of people have spent all their life holding back on comments. We certainly haven't held back on comments at our own detriment. And even at other agents who can use this against us, saying, oh yeah, they're on podcast, they're trying to change the world. Have you seen their opinion on this? We just concentrate on, show me, you know, no, we do this in our own time. This should have been a great endorsement to enhance the players and the game we all love. We all love the game, the crack. I'm hoping to get invited on a couple of talk shows with you lads like we all are. We might, you know, if IMG do the big show, they might say, can we bring the boys back for one more go and all that, you know. I'm sure there's a couple of doors, but yeah, we need to we're going to concentrate on what we do in the company and the individual stuff. Mick, like I said, well, ultimately we'll have a bit of commentary. We'll keep the team together in that avenue, but I think for this political stuff and giving opinions, ins and outs, you know, and it's got to... Jimmy's just said a lovely thing there, hasn't he? He a couple of weeks ago, he's talked... This is exactly right. He's talked about a player...
Not a show me player.
No. I've talked about a player who he thinks had a great game, and then there's a show me player underneath that who sat there thinking, well, he's in my place. And you're talking about a player who's not ours. Well, that has a massive effect on us then having to pick the pieces of that up. So let's crack on. We've got the biggest news. We've just been broken. You walked in. I'll let you break it, but obviously it's a sad day for certain people in rugby league. So it's not about us, Mick. We've got rid of that one. We'll miss everybody, but we'll see at the ground. Mick, you're around, aren't you? You're everywhere.
I am.
Oh God, you're a bit emotional.
I'm all right.
Mickey G.
Just pause it a minute. Well, the big news this morning hasn't really come as a shock or a surprise to me. I'm not sure about other people.
Certainly did to me, Mick, to be honest. Massive shock, yeah.
Seriously?
What, is this me again, or?
No, we're all about the departure of Lee Radford from Castleford.
Yeah, massive shock.
Serious?
Yeah.
Well, 3 games in, obviously, Castleford well beaten at the weekend against Wigan. First half, real nip and tuck, low scoring affair. Second half, Wigan from what I've seen and what I've heard, just blew Castleford away, didn't allow them to play. Obviously, a performance and a defeat of that manner where you kept scoreless at home and you've conceded 30 unanswered points in that second half, in front of a big crowd. Mark Grattan and the board of directors have obviously had to take drastic action. And drastic action it is, because you're only in round 3.
That's why it's a big shock, Mick. I don't know if down the line, if the current form Kasserine kept on in mid-season to near the end of the season, of course I'd be like, oh no, I get it. But it's 3 games in, and to me that's pretty early, which normally suggests a multitude of maybe reasons, maybe, I don't know, but there's something that I don't think it's just the 3 results, is it, on its own?
Well, there's people who watch this show religiously, and they will know where I'm coming from when I said this. I got wind of something happening with Lee Radford weeks ago, and I told people, I said, look, I don't think Radders is going to be there for much longer, because if you believe the word on the street, you believe what's been said down under, is when, the Redcliffe Dolphins had a fantastic win at the weekend over the Sydney Roosters.
They did.
If you believe Bennett's there for year 1 to set that great machine up running, Christian Wolf's then going to take over, Lee Radford is then going to be Christian Wolf's assistant at the Dolphins, and also with Samoa, then you can kind of understand, and I'm not saying Lee Radford has engineered this move, this payment, but don't be shocked or surprised, and this is what I said to people, if Lee Radford goes from Cass and further down the line he ends up at the Dolphins, because that is what I was hearing. That was the word on the street around Castleford, that was going to happen. So
that makes more sense then.
So that's why I'm not really shocked by this news. But look, fundamentally, he's been head of the recruitment at Castleford. He's put this team together with the money he's had at his disposal. And you're now looking at Castleford and you're thinking, what a mess. We know Andy Last's going to take over as head coach. Scott Morell's going to be his assistant. I'm not sure if Castleford have announced that yet, but again, that is word on the street from
Andy
Cass.
Last taking over.
A lot of people at the time were shocked, and they said, why has Scott Morell gone to Cass? Well, it all makes sense now. Obviously, Andy Last and Scott Morell, very close friends. He has decided he wants Morell to be his assistant, so it'll be Last head coach, Morell his assistant, and obviously Lee Radford now's got a bit of downtime. And
well, to be fair, now I think as well the youth coaches at Cass have moved up to a head of rugby role, and
I agree. And Tony Smith, who was there, he's now head coach of Leeds Reserves.
So I think there was a gap, to be fair, for Scott as well.
No. But look, it's seismic news because it's 3 games in. It's probably the earliest coaching departure that I can remember. I think the only earliest one would be Ellery Hanley in 2000, after winning that grand final against Bradford in St Helens.
Made the speech.
Then he made the speech, and I think he was gone after round 2. So yeah, this is probably the second earliest in Super League history. 3 games.
Do you know what, Mick? I went to Cass last week and I had a meeting. There were no real read of this last week, in my opinion. But what I did do last night, I don't know why I couldn't sleep last night, and I hadn't gone on Twitter for a bit, and I saw about 65. So when you look, if you ever want to know comments, I'm sure you all do it. You look at the full-time result thing, you just put it in, and it dropped, and there were 80, and it were all horrendously aimed at Lee. Radders, they even one had Radders with an Ian Millward head on, saying we shouldn't have, and I was like, wow, that's getting personal. That's like the same. So I thought he said, would Lee want this? If it is, true that Lee, whatever. But no, he wouldn't. He probably wouldn't, would he? Secondly, he had such a tough job. Let me give you a little bit of toffee for Lee. And by the way, me stating this, Lee Radford's one of the nicest people I've met.
100%.
He's my mate, and I'm not a personal friend of Lee, because we don't think, but every time I've met him, can't stop having a great conversation. He's really honest, so I'm going to stick up for Lee massively as a person. I can't talk about his coaching because it's unfair for us, as we've just said previous, to talk about what you hear and what you see. What you have got is following Daryl Parrell. Now, that was always going to be an absolute nightmare for anybody. What Lee did is he got 6 and he got 1 try away from going into playoff semi-finals. So what Lee did is he said, let me give everyone a little thing here. You ready? So you've got Lee finishing 6, playoffs. Everyone's, Powley's having a nightmare at Warrington. So suddenly, hey, probably right time to get rid of Powley.
Yep.
Hey, I tell you what, he knows his stuff, right? What happens this year? 7 or 8 recruitments come in. Lee dies by the sword with that because he'll go for a certain type of player.
Correct.
He probably couldn't get a certain types of player based on their cap. But certainly the signing of Gaz Widdop or the ones he did. What happens this year? Who's the talk? Who's everyone saying now's the king now?
Warrington. Powell.
Daryl Powley's back.
Yeah.
So what does that do? Everyone starts putting on social medias, bloody hell, we're missing Daryl. Well, no, these are the same people last year who were calling Daryl. By the time we got rid of Powley, he's gone, he didn't want it. Warrington is saying it's worst coach in the world, he's worse this, he's worse that. Suddenly Powley's the flavour of the month. Well, that put more pressure on Lee. Don't trust me how this works. I heard Powley mention last week around Castor more than I've done for 2 years. So they're throwing it in. It's not same as that. It's not like it with Powley. It's not like it was. Well, you'd forgot about that. Powley were a puff of smoke. And now he's been brought back and ultimately cost Lee his job. Do I think Lee will take this? I think Lee will be all right with it.
Yeah.
I think, and I don't want to bring this up, we've never mentioned this on the show. When people say we talk about headlines, we definitely don't. I can tell you 10 occasions when we could have used it. And we could have used Jack Squid into the Love Island. What did I say to you? As I always said to you, I said, we don't mention that. That's that lad's business and he needs to make his own thing. We don't live off other people. But obviously the Westerman incident didn't help Lee's case. You know, a lot of people thought Lee shouldn't have played him the week after at all. I know Cask that have got some right hammer saying, you know, that. So that's all what's happened. And Lee's known as somebody who's, you know, Lee's very loyal. So I don't know the situation with a few at plays, but I know one for sure, Lee'd have had their back. Now having their back means that you backing them up. That sometimes can backfire. Because I'd give one tip to Lee and most coaches. Some players are not that loyal. Don't work like that. It's unfortunately when we call it straight, they'll just go, it's been great, Lee. That's it, bank, next one. I've never said this, and I said this years ago, when players go and live with each other at a club, they all become best mates. They're like sheep. And then they can leave each other 2 years, never talk to each other again. I've never known anything like it. I can tell you 50 occasions. They travel together, they go out with the wives, the barbecue, the school kids, bang. The minute one of them move, they go, it's been great, see you later. So they can modicule into... I don't get and please take this again, oh God, this is said in the right manner. I said before, when I was an assistant coach of a football club and my coach got pressured to go somewhere, I always thought it would be to go and follow that coach. I'm not so sure that I actually, you know what I said privately, I said this had happened and I felt last year we're going to end up with a job and I thought what Joe's just said, I think he's correct. And it happened at Hull. Then last year went to Wakey and he, you know, and then Willie Poaching come in, so it... How would you suddenly go, okay, this is the game plan. We're doing it my way. Because that means you haven't been backing up your man who got you the job in the first place. Do you get me? Last year they wouldn't have the name in the game to get the cash job. Lee Radford would. When they went to them interviews,
yeah.
Lee Radford's name got him the job. Whether you like Lee, rate Lee or what, I know because I had a coach who went for a job, we look after him. So I know the format of what Lee sold himself on. And it was like, I can get this job. And I said at the time, I think he said to Andy and said to Danny, I can get this job and long term, it could be something you can do, but I'm going to, you know, I've got these envisions doing something else, but I'll bring you. Well, ain't that nice? Wish we all had a mate like that.
Yeah.
And I think Lee will probably be chuffed that at last he gets his chance. He might say, look, that's what I wanted. I wanted him to have his chance. But I'm never sure about that situation, Mick. I don't feel comfortable with it. I never will feel comfortable with it. I don't know how you lads feel. I just think that if it were me, I'd be, you know what, I'd probably go here. I'm probably not comfortable with it. That's me. I'm just a bit of a weirdo.
Yeah, but you can't make comments like that, can you? If you don't, unless you know personally, I know you don't, unless you know personally what's been what's been said. That, like I said, that might have just been completely.
I think it probably was.
Completely. Well, then it's not. I don't think it's that bad.
I'm on about from a Cass point of view as well. What do you do? Does Lasty say our coaching restraints on because I didn't believe everything Lee were doing?
Oh, you're saying so he's got his own to separate himself. If he's coming in to separate himself from Lee's coaching because Leeds not understood, but Lee brought him in.
Well, he just wants the coaching. So how does he come in and say, by the way, forget about that, that's what we're going to coach now? You'd be like, why didn't you do that before? I don't get you. What's different?
Well, you wear a lot of that, don't you?
Yeah, and I don't get it. I've never got it. I don't understand what difference you can be to a club when your mate's there who's give you free blanche. Can you imagine Lee saying to Lasty, don't coach this way? And he is?
No.
Yeah, but unless it's about, like you said, so when they do that, sometimes I know sometimes that is just the case, but other times it might be for the other reasons you've all mentioned, as in why Lee might have moved on. You know what I mean? Why he's been let go. So it's different. Maybe.
I get it, and Lasty might do what he did at Hull. I think if you remember when Lasty took from Lee at Hull, he got off to a good start, and suddenly I got all the lads that were like, oh yeah. Well, the lads at the time were pushing for Lasty to get the job because that you could feel it. So Lasty got the job, didn't get the results he wanted, and didn't get the job full time. They might need Lasty to get this little kick up, but I'm saying long term, Joe. If you've been there a year coaching a certain style,
yeah, but that's got.
How can you change it?
There's loads of things that coaches. Maybe he takes over some part of the recruitment. Maybe he takes it. Lee's maybe they're friends, but Lasty's personality is a bit different. There's loads of different angles.
You know, to deal with them, Lee would be doing a little bit of the recruiting, but also Danny would be heavily involved, and Lasty'd have had a great say in that. They would have all done it. That's what you call a team.
Yeah, it won't just be
rabbits.
But then every person. I say a lot of similar comments to you, but if you were in charge of a club and I was in charge of a club, we'd run it completely differently. Even though
because if your input changed after you being in my understudy, then I know I've seen what's in you.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, but if you're that type of personality, I'd listen to you anyway. That's part of being the job of being an assistant.
It's a personal thing. I'm just not comfortable. I think that I love the fact Lasty, and the lads spoke well at Lasty in England, the lads spoke Scott Taylor and Danny Out and the boys at Old Lane, he loved Lasty. Everyone loves Lasty. This is not to do with Lasty. This is me from a Cass point of view. Sometimes I find it very uncomfortable. I suppose I'm saying when Danny got the job from Tony, and then Danny goes in at the end of last year and said, right, let's say Danny went in first day and said, right, forget about what Tony said. I haven't been able to coach it. This is my way. I get that. But then Danny didn't come with Tony. Do you get me? Danny, I didn't have 10, 15 years as Tony's understudy.
But I suppose what you're saying is that the 3 games in, they've just caught Wigan, who no one would want to catch Wigan anyway. So I do think there's an element of maybe there isn't an awful lot that needs to change. You know, Radder's leaving so early. There's clearly more to it. So I'm not
sure. There's loads to change, Jimmy. I promise you.
Well, yeah, well, exactly. That's what you're not saying then, because if
I'm saying
someone getting fired 3 games in suggests that it's not all about the results, because he had an all right year last year. He had a lot of injuries and he pulled a decent overall season. Might have ended a bit rough, but overall season. And then so if someone gets fired 3, it's probably the honest truth. It's probably a bit of the
Dolphins,
bit of that, bit of the Joe Westerman saga, a bit of the, you know what I mean? There might be a lot of different things going on. So it would make sense to have the continuity of coach. So 3 games into a season, you're not completely changing all the systems that you've implemented all pre-season.
I'm all the way.
No, you can't. Ridiculous.
No, I'm the other way.
Yeah, I'm saying no to you.
To you, as in your opinion.
Yeah.
I'm just saying from my, and it's all down to expectations. I don't know. I might have had Cass 4 from bottom, so I'm only expecting Cass to have a pretty tame season anyway. So maybe they're thinking at this time it's not going to necessarily change an awful lot, but maybe, you know, if Lasty has been heavily influential on the way they've been playing and the style of play, and
which now is a fantastic coach.
That's what I'm getting at. So
it's took training sessions as Lasty.
I think they're. He did most of pre-season. So all I'm saying is I think they're obviously confident enough that for me, Cass have got a big outside chance of getting to the playoffs, and they've got to make sure that they stay up. So I just feel Castleford are like, well, he'll be able to do that job for us.
See, I'm going to challenge that. I think the expectations of Cass have been misguided. And I think if we'd have rolled in...
We can't move on quickly.
Let me finish. If we
No, because the thing about Lassie... No, you can't just move on.
Let the
from
king speak.
You can't say no, don't speak.
Yeah, no, because you're moving on.
I'm not going to move on. I'm going to wax
Joe.
I'm making a point.
Speak.
No, you're not, honestly. You've got your chance now. I've gone to have your own show. So you... I feel like Radders. Sorry, lads, for not laughing. I was going to say that if Lee... What did Lee think at the start of the season? I know with Mark. Now, Mark Grattan's the CEO of the club. An unbelievable bloke. But Mark's very good at... and I'm saying this with all respect, he's a cost cutter. So he knows how to balance books. He's so hard working. He's one of the most honest CEOs I've ever dealt with. But Mark's not going to think, he's not going to challenge certain areas by making it this. So when they said to Mark, he always does this to me every year. Come on then, show me where we're going to finish. And I didn't look at him in the eye this year. I didn't give him an answer. I just walked. I said I can't, and he'll laugh, and I just went and I walked away because I felt the expectation, as we all quoted on the show. Let's be honest. We all said bottom
but
four.
But you've moved on from
Yeah,
the
bottom
point
four,
of...
yes. I've got Castleford
I know.
four.
And bottom four. So back to this is what I'm going to say to you. So bottom four. So whether Leader stayed, whether Andy gets the job, and he's the same things, we also keep the same momentum.
No, it's not the same. No, I'm not saying keep the same momentum because they've lost 3 in a row. There's not been.
No.
But yeah, because you're misquoting me. But what the issue is that you've had a full pre-season and you've had 3 games. Are you going to get a new coaching to blow it up already? I think
because you've made that call and getting rid of Lee. If your argument is who'd get rid of a coach after 3 games?
That's why it's purely not about the game.
Let me finish. So that's not about that.
You've not let me speak about my point.
I am.
You've not.
Because I am, Joe. I am. Go on.
Your point is that obviously he's not been fired purely because of the if it was purely about the way he's been playing, no offence, the full lot would have a lot of them would have gone. If it is about the on-field performance, Lasty would have gone.
If he won first 3, he wouldn't have got sacked.
Yeah, but it's not purely the 3 losses.
It is.
It is.
Well, then
that's the reason, but there's a backlog. What we're saying is...
Yeah, but it's not because then Lasty would have gone
I can tell you this for now.
Right,
Radders wanted to stay. Let's say there is something in next year.
It's off to the Dolphins.
Radders wanted... If Radders, he wanted to stay in that job this year, there's no way Lee's not good. He wanted to do a great job. I'm sat with Lee 2 weeks ago at the service station in Hull. Thinking he wanted to do a great job. He was recruiting. Let me finish. He was recruiting for next year. He was saying to me, right, Craig, I want to do this style of football. There's no way Radders wanted to lose his job now.
I never said that. Nowhere in that conversation why would he want to lose his job? That's ridiculous.
So it is a football because of results.
Yes, but there's obviously a lot more to it. There's a lot more to it than just the results, obviously, because Lasty would have gone as well.
Joe, hear me out. This is my interpretation of it. Mark Grattan, Castleford Board of Directors. Whether or not Lee has formally told him he's off to the Dolphins next year, I do not know that information. But word is, he's going to the Dolphins and he's going to be the assistant to Wolfie. Right, you're Mark Grattan. You're free. You're not from free. You know Radford's going at the end of the year. I think Castleford have looked at it in a pragmatic way and they thought, well, hang on a second, our head coach is going at the end of the season anyway. We need to bring somebody right here, right now, who is going to try and galvanise and turn around the situation. But more importantly, with May the 1st or whatever the anti-tempering deadline's coming up, we can get our recruitment in order for 24. That's my interpretation
of it. That's a brilliant interpretation.
Yeah. That's my interpretation of it.
That's what you're saying, isn't it?
I don't think the Westerman thing has anything to do with
it. Mixed first words with that law, bringing somebody in.
But they've not.
To regalvanate it.
No, they've not.
No. They buy the centre week anyway. They might give Andy a job till Saturday. We're arguing about something that's could be we're not going to get the coaching that quick anyway. I'm saying to you, my preferred is, I've always said if you come in and you're similar to it, you're going to do what you did last year with them players, unless you've been holding something back. And suddenly you go, this is what I've wanted. This is how I'm going to coach. I've been restrained. I want to send Radders and Andy the best mates for 15 years. I don't see how you won't.
Yeah.
I think Radders, what Mick said, he got a lot of stick, Lee, for coming back from World Cup late.
Yes.
Everybody were up in arms about it, like he'd done something really wrong. He'd gone and chose Samoa and got to the final, and then he went to...
Yeah, but what he'd done with Samoa, and again, this is probably a little bit of selfishness from Radders, in that because he's made such of an impact with Samoa and what they've achieved. And, you know, I listened to an interview with Wayne Bennett, and Wayne Bennett were talking highly of Lee Radford. and some other English coaches, you know, Rada's stock on the back of what he did in the World Cup has gone up, you know, quite rightly. NRL clubs are seeing Lee Radford potentially as a future head coach down the line, but he's going to have to do what many other coaches have done, which is like Christian Wolf, go in as an assistant and then make that step up. But
interesting if Lee does go to Australia. It's very interesting that Richard Agar, Brian McDermott. Now, the thing is, we all said about the players. It sounds to me like the coaches are getting a bit like, hey, forget about the players. We're off.
I think there's been more coaches gone over to Australia this year than there has been
fundamentally,
players.
that though it will benefit the game over here in the long run. I firmly believe that, because I don't think we're going to lose Lee Radford. I mean, I'd probably say with Brian McDermott, I still think he's got an opportunity in the game over here. I think Richard Agar, no offence to Richard, I think he's probably, as a head coach over here in the game, I think it's probably extinguished. But I'd still like to think Lee Radford, given time, could come back with all that experience and be a really successful Super League head coach.
Yeah, but what happens if he gets a head job over there and then does 8
well,
years
again, I'm just saying, who knows? He might be gone for good, but I'm just saying I'd like to think that they come back.
Like your point, what you're saying,
that's what I'm saying, Craig. They go over there and they bring that experience and knowledge.
But then that's the same argument as the players.
I wasn't talking about the players, Joe. I was just talking. I wasn't talking about players. I was just talking about from head coach's point of view.
Radis in 10 years would be 60. What would you want Radis to
he'll be 60 in 10 years. Jesus wept.
50.
Yeah.
It was 40.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Radis could have 20 to 30 years.
Joe's aging people here.
Put 10 years. Sorry, that's bad.
You know, players' careers are not as long as coach, are they?
Yeah, but I don't want a 55, 6-year-old coach coming over.
Why some top coaches are that age?
Yeah, because he's a freak of a coach. He's a
no.
If you look now,
Craig Bellamy's nearly 60 odd.
Yeah, you've named the 2 best coaches ever.
God, exactly. Look at the age.
No, they're not the.
And then you've got
but they've made the
Canberra coach. Let me finish. The Canberra coach. I mean, Ricky will be 55.
Yeah.
Penrith coach. Cleary will be 55, 56.
I'd
say the average age for a coach in Australia would be a lot older than ours anyway.
I think Mick,
Mick was just then you don't want them coming over after that.
All Mick's point was he might go to us for 5, 6, 7 years
and then come back if the job is right here. Yeah.
And we're discussing. By the way, just let me know. We're discussing Radis might. He's got 5 businesses in all. He might just say, "Do you know what? I've had enough of game. Thank you very much. The game's not." I think you know what the sad thing is of it all. You finished 6, and that were definitely overachieving last year. Oh my God!
Was it 6 or was it 7?
No, it's 6. Went to last game against Rhinos, and Rhinos snuck it in.
Stuck in last minute, last whatever. But you look at that situation and you go, right, okay. And then 3 games later, 164 tweets yesterday was Radis out. This is. I hope we don't become Premier League job where this becomes normal, where they say, right, as soon as you... Now, I do like the angle of, if you are going to recruit for next year, do you want the coach who might not have a long-term future there? So, yeah, that's
how I might interpret it.
But let me tell Cass this, and I'll say it looking, because it's my last show. You've got to get it right, lads, because I don't think you've got it right for a bit. That's my opinion. I was a lot to do with it in 16, 17. I had a bit of an influence because I was that close. I don't think that's been happening for 3 or 4 or 5 years, and I'll state why. This is for Cass fans. I watched a clip of the day of Cass in, let's say, 16, 17, and on that pitch...
It was 2016, we watched it.
Anyway, on that pitch, there were Zach Hardacre, Man of Steel, Paul McShane, Man of Steel, Luke Gale, Man of Steel, Grant Miller, Dream Team, 3 years, whatever. Michael Shenton, stood like an England centre. I think it was Eden... and I counted Ben Roberts, Melbourne, whatever.
Yeah, Roberts, yeah.
And I looked at it and I thought, oh my God, Mike McGeechan, England play. I'm watching it and going, that potentially they had 8 Dream Team players in one team. They had 3 future existing masters. They had a couple of the best props in the country playing. Miller was wanted by everybody, a lot of people revered. Shenny, one of the best centres, other side. And I watched it and I'm like, oh my God.
Was Matautia there?
Well, they had Junior Moores, who again, there's no wonder they got, what I'm saying is, there's no wonder they got to grand final. When you look back, if you'd known what you were watching, you'd have gone, well, there's no doubt this is a grand final team. because there's at least so many of these. Junior won at best back rowers for 2 or 3 years. He couldn't go out with him. He was the Alititi of the cast. So all this were happening. And then if you look from then on, a bit like, I'm going to be thinking a bit, sometimes I think, a bit like Wakey, if we be honest. Where you look at Wakey's Tom Johnson, David Fafita, Batchelor, Milky, who were the centre, everyone used to rave about, Bill.
Tupu.
They've not been replaced. I think Cass is on the same lines. They've probably lost 7 or 8 lifetime players at Cass. You know, certainly 3 or 4 England players at the time. How many of the Cass side at the moment are getting England side?
Macca for me still.
But they got rid of it, you know.
I know, they didn't.
We don't want them to. We love him, but
I don't think there were any. Was
There's
there?
not.
How many would you put down for Dream Team?
No.
No, only Macca if he tears it up. It's all seems to be honest.
How they're playing at this moment in time, you've got to say no.
Yeah, definitely.
So if you look back, the big aspect has been the recruiting. It's not been good enough, and they haven't produced enough juniors from that. There was a young Jake Truman there at that time, and all there might have been a young Callum McClelland and a Lewis Johnson, whatever it was. But there was certainly young Callum Turner. They were thinking they had a little bit of. They got to the final in 16 or 17. 17 of the Academy Cup. So everything for Cass seemed to be. They've got everything right. They've got that bit right. They've got that bit right.
It's that transition 18 and 19.
Yes.
What has gone wrong?
I think that's more than talking about Liam Lasty and all that. You go, right, what has happened from then?
Yeah.
And there probably has to be whether I can't comment on the board and the directors and the decision making. You know, obviously Mark Grattan, like you say, Craig. You know, words out. He is very stringent. He's like a Michael Carter. He's watching the pennies. But if what we're theorising has happened is that Cass, similar to Wakefield in a sense, they have tightened that purse string and they've pulled back a little bit. Then, piece by piece, what was shaping up to be a beautiful golden era at the Jungle at Castleford, it's now turning into a dirty, toxic swamp.
Well, one thing for sure, what Mark had done is...
That's probably enough. Well, the gold paves have turned, they've weathered away, and it's now bronze.
Well, the thing is, one of the comments on the last game, I didn't
Sorry
know this.
about the toxic swamp.
One of the comments in the Wigan game was the fans about how, I don't know, they said, what were they intended to make? Somebody said...
7.5.
Right, somebody said we've lost 1,000 of...
That's correct, yeah, the crowds are dropping off now.
Mark would have been, poof, now that would...
And it's only going to get worse,
That
Craig.
would be red alarm for Mark. He'd go, poof, whoa, that's now affecting the financial. Now, the Cass as a club are a fantastic club.
Brilliant.
I hope Mark would tell me off here. The proper earthy meeting tech. You know what I mean? I always laughed at them when me and you went.
Listen, I've got a lot of time for Castleford.
We love being in that stand. It's fantastic. The people are great. I've said before, my daughter worked at the shop. I absolutely love that club. But probably it's time for Cass to have a revamp as well.
Correct.
I think they could do with some reinvestment. I think the people who've been the custodians of that club, which is the Fulton family, are probably at the wrong age. You know, Ian and his sister, and probably at a thing. Jack's not there, and they've got it, and they probably need someone to say, okay, we've got this here, but we probably need someone to come in and go, right, I've got a passion for rugby league. I've got a few quid.
Yeah.
Let's go. Cass probably need some help.
Yeah.
And the board and it's easier said than done. I suppose Mark had said to me, well, go on then. Go and find me a multi-millionaire of sports Cass. Yeah. You'd be like...
That's the issue. That's going to be the issue. Everybody knows you don't own a rugby league club to make money, you know.
No.
With Michael Carter and the Wakefield situation. Yeah, you can buy the club for £1, but you're taking on the debt and the going concern of having to put so much money in to meet the payroll.
And we said before, it's always hard for teams, no matter what sport they're in. That once they've had that season, Cass had in 17 where they didn't lose at home. And
the build between 15.
I'll never forget the game against St Helens where there's dropped goal. Oh, unbelievable!
But you know, they were so good that year, and then like any team that's had success, it's that transition period. You know, we talked about it so much with Rhinos as they lost those legend names as the years went by. How do you go about replacing them? For Cass, it's even harder because they've got to try and do that without the same money. It's what other clubs. Look how hard Leeds have found it, and their budget might
and
be
probably without that
50%
same
more.
influx of youth as well, which obviously we're seeing with Leeds.
Yeah, but
Well, the good thing about Cass is they did, you know, when you look at that 17, 18, 16,
I know.
they had McGeechan 24, they had older ones, but they also had younger ones. They had Macker, who had another 28-year-old, then, 27, you had Milner, they were not, it wasn't an aging side, so something.
Well, and then apart from the stars, apart from the stars, they were filled out with Alex Foster's at 23, Toyo was at 21, Greg Minikin at 22.
I remember watching that.
They were filled out with young players.
And then they had Shuey, Callum,
I remember
this young side coming up, Jax O'Neill.
Yeah.
They had all these Peachy, they had all these young lads.
I actually come across a team
Brandon
sheet.
Douglas.
I actually come across a Castleford versus Bradford academy team sheet from around that time, and I'm like, bloody hell, Jax O'Neill's playing at 9, against some young Bradford players, and then I'm like, look, Lewis Carr on wing, Callum Turner, Peachy, and then you look at those, and thankfully players like Lewis Carr and Callum Turner, they're at Dewsbury, and they're still in the game, but that side had so much potential that got to that grand final, and then you're like questioning, well, why didn't them young promising players, move up and kick on?
The one thing you've got to put on Cassis, and this is again, this is not a clickbait. What's the ambition of the club? Is the ambition of the club to be? You've tasted the champagne
of the grand final
from 15
in 17,
till 17. You had potentially the best side for 3 years in Super League.
They were the entertainers.
Right?
Dennis Alamono, prior to his move to Sale.
And they raised every bar of everything they did. But then you've got to look at what is success for Cass. I don't know no more. I genuinely don't know. I know I'm always quite stringent on Leeds, aren't I? Saying, well, if you're Leeds, you're going to win it. That's it. They don't want to talk to me about top 6 with Leeds building. You're a Leeds Rhinos. The power behind that club means that you have to try and win that league every year. If you can't, you don't be silly. I don't think Cass are trying to win any league. And if you look, it's probably that 26-year-old Mike McGeechan who goes, do I want to play for England if I stay at Cass? Now, if you're in that level, you've got problems. I've done Truey. If you're looking at it, do you go, if I stay at Cass now, A, I want X amount of money because that's what the market can give me, and 2, do I want to win things? Yeah. It's probably Champions League football sort of thing now. Is it the footballer who says, I'd rather play for a club who's got Champions League because then I endorse myself better and then I get international honours, I get bigger games, I get this. I think Cass are in that seesaw of, you know what I mean? Sadly, in a way, you're wanting Cass up there because we've enjoyed that, watching them that much, that we're like, we've been spoiled. Come on, Cass, keep up
Sweet
there.
Caroline wants the win.
Yeah, Cass are real.
Yeah,
Cass are real in our
really
game. The Bradford, the real, you go, these are the real deal. We don't want Cass in that bottom 3 and saying, well, that's where they're going to be now for the next 10 years because of ambition, because of this. We want to say, Mark Grattan has done an unbelievable job from that money that was going into that club losing. The money it was losing to how he's changed it round financially is unreal. And that's another story, that's another show. One day you could say to Mark, how have you done it? How have you made them money and not had to put no personal money in for all them years? Because believe me, there's not many clubs don't. Even your top 4 clubs, the people putting in all the time, putting in. Cass don't have anybody putting in. That historic loan made by the club would have been there historically. Hasn't been there the last 6 years. Mark's stocked the shelves and got away with it. Has that had a detriment to what's going on the field? Like I said, to lose McGeechan in his prime, that's got to be sad. You take a risk with McGeechan and bring him from London. Have I got the name wrong? McMeekin. And you bring Mike in and you get him right there, and then suddenly you think, why can't I keep him? Jake Truman, why can't I keep him? Initially, Gailey decides.
Well, he won a Challenge Cup after he left, didn't he?
Solomona, what you said straight. A lot of them going, I probably, if I play for Cass now, do I get a chance to go to a top 4 club? Is that on a player's mind now?
I'd say so, yeah.
It'd have to be, wouldn't it? Except for the loyalists like Macca and Milner.
I think there probably has to be a reality check, Craig. I don't know where. I know you placed them bottom 4, I placed Cass bottom 4. I think there has to be a reset, a reality check of where Castleford currently are. They are in a dire situation. They are in a relegation battle. I had Cass in that bottom 4 with Lee, Wakefield and Salford.
Who have they got this week?
Huddersfield on Friday night.
Oh,
it doesn't get any easier at Huddersfield. It's no good laughing, is it? They're in a dire situation.
I'm saying it's hard, isn't it, that? That's
no easy games in that
it's Leeds.
Super
Some
League.
reason it's the Leeds week after.
Yeah, and then they've got Leeds, and there's a chance there could be 0-5, and there's a chance Wakefield might pick up a win against Leeds at the weekend. Who knows? Wakefield are in similar dire straits. I know I got hounded on Friday night. Yeah, but our defence. Well, I'm not being funny. Wakefield fans, don't take this as a personal attack on you, but you can talk about defence all you want, keeping Huddersfield to 8 points. You've not scored in nearly 3 hours of rugby league, so you can have the best defence in the world, but if you don't score any points, you are not winning any games. Fact.
Yeah, it's a fact.
Wait, listen, I spoke to Fordy, weirdly, yesterday. We had a right good conversation. We're on to the Wakey game, I know. I thought it was a great best performance to put on.
Yeah, really good defensive.
Ultimately, they still lost.
Yeah.
Which you don't want that. By the way, for all the Wigan fans, I've heard that you were fantastic in the last 20 minutes, went up a gear, bang, bang. So,
Huddersfield.
No, sorry, for Wigan. The Cass, I'm just apologising. We didn't say all about Wigan. From that defeat at KR, we're going to starting to.
Yeah, they have the shutout against Wakefield, shutout against Cass, away at Castleford.
Do you remember me calling that?
Joe called that.
Do you remember me calling that, mate?
What did you say?
I think I said I won't be surprised if they go on and don't lose the next 10 games.
Well, Wigan were that poor against Hull KR. Fundamentally, there had to be a reaction from Pete, didn't there?
Yeah. So Wigan are on the roll on the dance floor. Then you've got this, but Wakey ultimately put the best performance and still get beat 8-0 at home. A couple of injuries, worries. I think that Wakey have got to say. I think Cass and Wakey, if they both sat in a room, they'd probably be looking at each other going, "We're pretty similar. We've lost David. We've lost our best players, but recently, whereas Cass, I thought lost them. I'm trying to replace them." They've both got some major recruiting. Like I've heard Cass have got 13 off contract for next year. I bet Wakey have got similar. So both of them have got to start work now and get it right. Because if they get that recruiting wrong, we just said it. How many years have we said on show? If you get that recruiting wrong, it don't matter if you're Wayne Bennett. You've got no chance. You've got no chance of pulling a cap back. Once you lose that cap, you're having big problems. You can't do what about.
It takes years to get back.
Years.
And whilst we've got the grading and the pillars coming in, and more on that in the show later on with the D-Day on Thursday, Castle and Wakefield can't rest on, well, there's no more promotion and relegation, because you've got to look at the stadiums. Castleford,
Wakefield,
I'd love to speak to Mark Grattan and know just how much that costs a year, how much money is hemorrhaged in getting a health and safety certificate for a crumbling venue like the Jungle. Very similar to Bellevue and Wakefield.
Even Bellevue, that new one looks amazing.
No, but Craig, I'm not having a go at Wakefield here, but I said this to Michael Carter the other week. When you put that stand there, but what about the rest of it? It's still an eyesore, it's still an ageing facility. I know there's plans to modernise bit by bit, but it's still going to hemorrhage money.
Well, you've got to say, if you're backing up Cass in terms of the IMG one, you've got to say that fan support. I don't think IMG would want to lose a Cass and their support and their home base and the way they are as a club in the league.
No, I'm not saying that, Joe. I'm just saying, in terms of recruitment, even though there's no promotion and relegation, because of the facilities they're playing, they need to be looking over the shoulder. They need to be.
Well, you said when you bring a player to a I've done it 250 times. You bring a player to a stadium. It makes a massive difference. You walk, I've done it, we do the walk into the centre circle, you say, look round. I say, look round. I did it to Callum McClellan at Leeds. Look round here, if you don't want to sign at Leeds, Pat Gaming. He walked in at Headingley, he went like that, he went, where can I sign? With Cass, we always did it a different way. We brought the player and sold Powley. Let's be honest. We sold the fans, the Sweet Caroline, the atmosphere, the earthliness of them beautiful people who were like, come on, the Cass Vegas. We all were buying into it. But you certainly were dodging around stadium. You were saying, don't go for it, don't. You know what I mean? You'd walk into bar and it was just like a tap room. Do you know what I mean? It was that type. 100% Wakey same. If you've ever done it, when you go to Wakey offices, you have to go to the back of ground and you go up about 4 different things. And it's cabins. So you're not going to walk a player in and say, look at this, because you're up down the cabins. They've tried to do the Hall of Fame and they have photographs of ex-Wakey players. But it's not like, not being...
Yeah, we're being realistic,
yeah, you're walking Wigan and you see Ellery and you see that thing, you see that entrance and you go, oof. You walk to Leeds Rhinos training facility and you are in the Hall of Fame.
You've got every name of every...
You stop talking, you're like, wow, we're in somewhere historic. I think, the grounds have been allowed to do that. So again, signing a player who's got... If you think about it, Casa took Milky from Wakey. That's peculiar in it, isn't it? They've took a player who's been at Wakey for 5 years who then jumped out because he thought the better position for him financially or personally was with Cass. And he's gone to Cass, hasn't he, from literally 12 mile away. He jumped over there. That'd be alarm bells for Wakey, wouldn't it? Thinking, why have we just lost our captain and our best player to actually Cass? Who said, yeah, well, we're in a better position then.
Well, we've got to believe that was purely financial because we know Wakefield tightening the purse string. And no disrespect to Wakefield, they've got to do that. And people pulled me up like last week for my comments about the loans on the ground and the stands, but that's very prudent of Michael Carter and Wakefield because they know these huge repayments are going to come. So Wakefield fans saying, yeah, but we've made a profit. There's a reason you've made a profit. It's so that when these 24 grand monthly payments start hitting the club, there's money for Wakefield to pay them.
Listen, shocking result for Cass. Wakey's, I suppose, the performance.
Yeah, it's a positive. It's an upward direction.
And they go into next week. Problem is the size of the squad. They're using different hookers. They're using people in makeshift positions. The fullback were very important for them. They were on fire this year. The fullback, Fordy was saying, now they're meant to put 2 or 3 options in fullback. Jowett were very important to hooker. Here's an interesting one because it's my last one. We'll give it a bit of fun. We were actually working on something around both clubs, and obviously it won't be the same now. I'll leave it at that. But there was something working in the background of a deal, and it'll be God. And again, if he clicks maybe one last time, Harrison says this and that. At least I can't get done again. But we were actually working on something which were quite interesting around both clubs. Listen, we don't want 2 West Yorkshire clubs. If you look at it now.
I said it last week. It's all Lancashire.
Lancashire, but we love the Lancashire. Lancashire are the kings, but they are the kings at the moment. And the 2 clubs like that, historic clubs, look like the. It's weird when somebody asked me yesterday, Mick, the performance of the week, and we've watched a bit of. I thought that Leeds game was so Saints Leeds. I didn't know what to make it game. I'm loving to hear your comments. It was the worst game you watched or best. I couldn't work out whether I was watching. And I kept shaking my head and thinking, are they that bad? Are Saints that tired? Are they this? And then the Leeds scored that offload try and you're like, whoa, that's like Leeds with the best team ever again. And then you watched, I'll be honest with you, I'll hand it over to you. I've never seen a game where I've been as misguided. At end of game, I was like, was that unbelievable, that game? Were it the best rugby or were it just like, what's happening? Referees are definitely getting more say. I know that. I don't know what's happening to refs. But refs are having a massive understanding. The 2 big highlights of that game were the shoulder charge and...
But from my point of view, the referees have always had that power.
Yeah. I would say at start of years, the narrative where they go... I've heard this, you've heard it. Start of the year, they're very stringent on everything, and then they ease it off, and then by the time of grand final...
I don't think...
We know the RFL are clamping down on any head contact, any shoulder contact, so for mine, Conrad Arell, clear red card.
I'm with Mick, I think...
What about the Walters one?
Was that just the sin binning?
Yeah.
No, he didn't get a sin bin.
Shoulder charge. Yeah, that should have been a sin bin, yes.
I just going to what Mick said there, I think refs have always been massively influential in games.
100%.
Controlling the tide. It just used to be a lot more subtle, and now it seems to be about more big decisions and more about head contacts. Like Conrad Hurrell on Myler has to be a straight red because it's contact to the head, and contact to the head's a massive thing. The Sam Walters one has just left people. I've not spoke to anyone who says that's not a shoulder charge, but the referees have justified it because one arm starts to move around a bit and he's a bit more open. But hold on, they're just saying these big decisions are becoming so more evident because everyone's unsure and ref interpretation. Where for me, the ref thing used to be a lot more about which teams do they let lie on half a second longer, whether they're given offside, and it used to be so much more subtle. So,
well, because it's the obvious one, because they're now getting sin binned, aren't they? Like last year,
At the start of last year, it was
and everyone
massive,
were
wasn't
going mental because they now sin binning. So it's not only
It's not just
it's not only a
penalties,
penalty, it's not only a kick, a 2-pointer, or it's not only like you said, a couple of where they let them get field position. It's actually
Game-changing
getting
thing.
people off the pitch.
Listen,
Like
within the letter of the law, Walters is shown to charge. I'm probably old school. I actually don't mind it for that. I thought, I'm not having a poppy. Young Wellesby's reaction caused a nightmare.
Yeah.
I think Jack's got to learn from that. So Jack, get away, because you've highlighted that so Walters then gets done. There's no doubt you've made a move on to me.
Correct.
Because it wasn't all that when it were, players that had laughed about that years ago. That had said, good shot. Classic, laughed. Suddenly it became all handbags and grabbing, and I'm thinking, oh,
Well,
God.
and that cost his side a penalty.
And then what they did is very
clever.
cleverly took Sam off within 4 seconds, like get him off because they were making out he were reacting and all that. What he actually did afterwards when he fronted up was the beginning of Sam's career. That's my take on it. Let's see what happens. Because when forwards suddenly do something like that and then they front up, and when he opened his shoulders, I thought, and I got loads of people, old school lads, going, tell you what, I wasn't going to take any shit in, buddy. And suddenly Sam, when they take it ball in, Barry Mack used to famously say, get a couple of sending off sailing your career, something they all know what's coming. You know what I mean? I never bothered about getting sent off because it was a warning.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take a backward step on you. This is a modern day version of that, we can't. But I thought it got Sam a bit of relevance in, wow, this kid's not going to... Sam's been called a little bit late, a bit of this, a bit of that. Suddenly everyone's going... Oh.
Well, I think in pre-season...
And he looked the part.
He's been coming. I felt a bit sorry for him that it took a bit longer when we watched him play for England.
But Saints were always going to have that lapse, Jimmy, weren't they?
Well, I thought that game, Sam Walters first of all.
What did it place for?
Disagree.
You think going to Australia and doing what they're doing would have no effect on them?
Yeah, it would. I thought for the Cass game, not
you're mad.
No.
Just it can't.
Oh no, you're mad.
I know that if Sam Walters didn't play for Leeds on the Friday, he'd have been playing for Bradford tonight.
That's all I wanted to say. What was saying with Sam Walters,
he's now firmly got Rowan's thumbs up because I was on a night out with James Bentley and Sam Walters a few weeks back. They won't mind me saying that. We're in McDonald's at 2 in the morning.
I think they might. I think it's supposed to be on best behaviour.
No, listen, we were in McDonald's at 2 o'clock. We're talking rugby league. So
the worst place in Leeds City Centre.
Oh yeah, that's where all the rugby league players and all the. On a serious note, what I will say about Sam is, I was asking him about potentially where do you see you this year, and he's like, look, Mick, I do not want to go on loan to Fev. I don't want to go on loan to Bradford. Leeds home is where the art is, and I think he's showing that.
Well, that's all I was saying. Yeah. We've seen him in a very slow progression from him playing a knockout game for England against the Aussies, and now we said in pre-season you'd seen difference. When I spoke to a couple of
100%, yeah.
I said to him, look, the Sam Walters you may get this year looks very different to the Sam Walters you
got last year, yeah.
And now, like Grace says, I totally agree that sort of performance and him showing he's ready now, and it's alongside Tom Albright.
Well, and he's changed position, hasn't he? I think
he was always going to be a prop for me. I'd said
he's played second row.
Size and
he's changed position.
He's twitched.
But he's gone from there at second row. Give him he's had 5 games at prop and he's gone bold.
Yeah, and he played at prop as younger, hadn't he? And it obviously as he developed, they put him out a bit. But now, that was good. But I just thought that game on Friday where, there's 18 points on my handicap. When I was talking to someone before the game, it was like, is this teed up for one of those famous Leeds upsets against all the odds? And the only way I could see it happening was a little bit of a delayed hangover. You don't quite feel it on the Monday morning, but then Tuesday you're just lacking. And then they needed everything to go their way. They needed the decisions. They needed a little bit of this and that, and everything that could have gone. I think if Leeds play that game 5 times, they only win it once. And even with the little delayed hangover, I don't think it could have gone any better for him than it did. Well, and then Saints, the way Saints were, this is all I'll say on that game. Saints to me looked mentally exhausted. They're more than physical. I think that everything they've been through the last few weeks and all the hype and all the homecoming and the trophy, all that, the extra media stuff they've done, I thought it was more that. So when I've never seen Saints lose their head so badly and handle adversity so badly. Usually they're extremely good at sticking to the game plan, keeping their discipline, and it was just like chaos. You might as well have seen heads exploding everywhere, and Leeds were just winding them up.
Game was
it went perfect for him.
Just quickly, watching that game, it was very similar to how Bradford beat Toulouse. You suck them in with that mongrel, and Saints just couldn't get out of it. And like you say, Jimmy, the heads went. They couldn't deal with the decisions, what they perceived. Chris Kendall giving to Leeds. And that kind of...
It were almost like,
accelerated it. Yeah,
it just looked like, how dare you come and spoil our party? This was not the plan. We thought we'd rid him of Storm last week at Cats.
Listen, let's be right. The grubber, what Lewis's dad...
to make
when he did the grubber, it was game over. I thought it was a try. So I looked on the pitch and thought, it's a try. That's game over. So... like most rugby league games, it's on a balance and they're swinging it. So I thought if that goes in, Leeds can't come back from that. Yeah. Even though Leeds had a belief in that game, definitely that they were thinking, just keep the ball alive. Yeah. The short kickoff's telling you what they're thinking. Yeah. We can come back from anywhere. Just get that short kickoff. We get the ball back, we're going to score. I think there's a bit of that, but the fine lines in it.
Makinson's missed kick was just as important.
Unbelievable. But I do think you're not going to catch Saints on a day like that again. They'll get back. And I bet you now, I always love coaches. I love when they close the door, but they can't. Probably thinking, yes, I've got something to work on now. At least I've got something to say. Hey, guess what happens when we start believing? And Wellens as a coach will be going, yeah, I know you won't dare show it, but he'll be buzzing, Mick. He'll be going, right, here we go, boys.
Remotivation.
Couple of things our Saints think a bit above the stage. Pinwall. Light the fire, ignite the Saints machine again, and all of a sudden everyone goes, oh God, here we go again.
It'd be like Wigan at ULKR. You won't want to play Wigan next and bloody wake you.
No.
Who Saints got next? Because you won't want to be
the team now. I'm just going to say, the team now, they had the first win against ULKR on Friday night. It's St Helens against Lee. So, Lee are going to...
At Saints?
Lee are going to face the backlash. Lee will face that backlash.
Do you know on that, it's quite weird, and again, skipping on... Good performance by Leeds, by the way. Let's give Leeds the top.
Well, we were with Rowan on
texted me
Thursday
yesterday, and he put a smiley face, and I said, he'd obviously needed that win. He'd obviously needed the win just to put the fires out of the Lee Radford. The drums of the Twitter, the social media. Sometimes you have to put that fire out. But I tell you what, isn't it weird? Because if you'd have said to teams at the start of the year, where do you want to be? Now, moving on to what you just said with KR. I didn't realise how much, and I hope they think I'm saying this in right manner, because I'd say it could be the last time I say it, is KR was so devastated about not going top of league. Now, is that, do you know what I'm about ambition with Caswake or whatever? I've never seen anything like KR as deflated.
What, because we're fixated on getting...
100%.
Really?
They are absolutely gutted that. That's where they are now. Now, we watched Lee pre-season, we were lucky enough. They were very good. That's why we thought, oh God.
Yeah, I saw them against Leeds. Very good.
They are a very good team, right? So them going to KR, you're probably looking with, that's a real tough gig. I think KR are deflated because they thought it were on. 6 out of 6. Going into next week, they beat Wigan at home. They were saying, I know it's that daft Warrington thing, but is this our year? I think there's a bit of...
Oh, no.
No,
have you seen the change that Lee made? I think, quote me if I'm wrong, they moved Latelli to the left edge.
Right.
So that he were on the right edge, I think. Again, I might be on... I thought he played the right edge a few...
What's your point, though?
The move...
To get at somebody?
The strike. No, not to get it... No, for the strike.
Yeah.
To play on Lammy's side.
Lamb, the second... I'm bad with names, but then Latelli, Charnley.
Right.
And then Charnley got a hat-trick off of Latelli, and we were saying, where's the tries coming from? Well, Lammy wasn't going much to wasn't going much to the right-hand side.
They're all going down the left edge.
And he's going down the left. Well, they've moved Latelli there and got the strike, got the tries.
Weird enough, because KR, you'd have said Ethan and the centre there are the best, very good defenders, so I don't know a back row, but Batchelor, he can defend all, Lynette, some of the... But actually, what I'm saying to you is the ambition of the clubs, it's weird. I've never heard Danny what like thingy. Paul never answered. Paul's my mate, and he bang. But I think and all the club you can tell have gone. This is what a start here, and all of a sudden Lee have come and beat him, and they've gone.
It's that false sense of security. Like say, ULKR go into that game as like 8-10 point favourites, and Lee had a week off, I believe. Lee after coming back from France, it was like take the week off, lads. Just take it easy, and we'll go OKR, and it's like
That's what they did. Yeah,
just unbelievable management. Adrian Lamb's shown some serious management there to know that some of his players will benefit more from that than getting back in after getting beat.
We know they've got a tough game coming up against St Helens. OKR equally tough. Warrington. So there's a chance OKR are going to be pretty much. Sorry, Paul. We know you're a big fan of the show, but I mean, I never had. You had them at top 4, Craig. You know, who knows who's right or wrong. I had OKR battling with Hull FC, Salford potentially for that last playoff spot.
That's probably why it was so important to get 6 out of 6, knowing you've got Warrington coming in. Will you take 6 out of 8 if Warrington are on this?
You're potentially now at 50% after this weekend.
Yes, and suddenly you go.
And then reality is you're a mid-table team battling for the playoffs.
It's 4 games in, Rick. You're doing
no, but I know what he's saying.
I'm just calling it as how I see it. I interpret it.
I get it. What he's saying is that ambition. But it's brilliant.
I never had OKR top 4. I always had them in the middle cluster.
Adrian Lamb's got to keep what I'm saying.
They've had 2 brilliant wins.
Willie Peters is going to keep that. He's going to go in there and he's going to say to them players this morning, "Run about well, Oak, we didn't go in. Sit down, lads. You're the champions. But we've just had a little jolt. Let's go." I'd be interested in how you'd say it to a KR side, or like you said, now we're going against the favourites at the moment for comp. Warrington will be up there with favourites to win it.
Yeah, third favourites.
There you go. So you're looking at this momentum at Warrington and you're going, and suddenly you go, right, lads, like you said, are we the real deal? Let's see where we are. You're gonna have to do it now, and then you end up like you said, 2 out of 4. When I do believe that the ambition of the club had picked up to go and do that. But I knew Lee were a hard game. We've all said it, and there's no one here don't respect Lee this year. I actually made it's weird, you know. You look at the way Lee play and then conduct themselves, and that young Lammy is very good in it. You're beginning to realise now he's probably one of the best halves in comp. I thought it'd be massive for him to jump up to Super League, see how good they are. The hooker's not done as well as what we thought, but that Lammy's done better. That Lammy against Leeds were unbelievable.
Lammy was a good NRL player.
I know, I get it. What I'm saying is he could be the... They're about the Salford half being this one. Lammy looks to me like the form half in comp. At this moment in time, he could beat form half in competition.
Well, he's right. I mean, George Williams, Brodie, but you'd probably say he's third, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So...
I'd say above Brodie this year so far.
It's weird because did anybody watch the Warrington Salford game? Salford.
No, you got it right.
I was at the Bradford Leeds game with you.
So I watched it. Watched it back.
On record, yeah.
On record, we got back and we
I know Warrington's second half. I've seen the highlights, I didn't watch the full games.
Well, again, you're on about momentum swings in a game. Absolutely, I've never seen a momentum swing like it. You've got Salford have got a grip at game and I'm watching it and I'm going. And I'm making sure these don't text me or no one texting me results. So I'm like, gang, I can't see Salford getting beat. Absolutely no chance they're going to get beat.
Is that based on the first half?
Yeah, it's all over.
Yeah.
Honestly, they've gone in and you're thinking all they've got to do. And I asked Ryan Brayley this, what team talk? And he was, well, we were saying, just end the sets. All you've got to do is end the set, squeeze, game's over, lads. Just do not make any mistakes. Bang, bang, bang. Things drop up in a game. Ryan then gets sin-binned for holding on from a chase back. Well, that were it. It was like the avalanche. It was just unbelievable last 20 minutes. Yeah. Game's out. I could see Paul Rowley end the game now thinking, he's going to be thinking, what has just happened there? I've coached that. By the way, I rang him. I hope you don't mind me saying this. I don't usually do it. I rang him yesterday and said, Paul, I don't usually say things like this, but keep your pen dry as a coach because you are a fantastic coach. I said, I'm watching the way you shape up with the personnel you've got, and you are absolutely fantastic. He's right up there. If you watch your rugby and study, he's right up there.
Keep your pen dry, mate.
Well, keep your pen dry as in keep your faith. In my aspect, it means keep your faith in what you're doing because what I'm seeing is you're absolutely fantastic. And he said, well, he said, God, that's really nice of you, Craig, to say. And I said, no, I enjoy watching your teams. I can see they can come at you from a second. Who else would take Warrington apart like they did for 25 minutes? Warrington, George Williams said at the end of the game, it's amazing. He said, was there a time in that game when you thought, it's the same Warrington as last year? He goes, yeah, of course we did. We all looked at each other going, this is exactly what happened last year. We win a couple of games, then we get beat by 50. Somebody puts a score on us and we go, oh yeah, same old Warrington, no backbone. We can't grind a result. We can't get through a game. Well, they did. They did, but the momentum changed unbelievably well.
They did it last year, so they were probably the best entertaining team to watch for the second half of the year last year. But I don't see. I know that there's a good banter about it, about Warrington won the first 3 games last year. But for me, they're totally different this year. I haven't no concerns about.
Are the serious contenders, lads?
I think they're definitely.
Warrington.
Is he on?
The way I viewed it was.
It is now, Craig. After that,
I viewed it as being a coin toss between Wigan and Saints who comes top, and I didn't think there'd be anyone else that close to them. Whereas now, I think Warrington will be right up there. In
You see Sam Tompkins' tweet?
no.
Something like brilliant how he timed
There,
it.
yeah.
Is it there? Yeah. I thought brilliant, Sam. Brilliant.
I don't think there's a Warrington fan there's anything to be worried about because the forward pack they've got this year and the half-back combo. I've said before, I've never been George Wooden's biggest fan, but with Widder, you get to see what he's all about. You're getting to see Drinkwater. Drinkwater. He didn't have it with Widder. He's not had it for a while, but with Drinkwater, as we said at the start, everything is set up for Warrington. I do not see how they do not come in the top 3, and I still think Wigan and Saints might have that bit more stability and consistency, but I don't see how they're not in the top 3.
I've still not seen Huddersfield.
No, I need to.
We've not really mentioned Huddersfield on this show. We
Yeah,
know.
not seen it, have we?
We know from the reserve game on Saturday when they put 60-70 on Wakefield. You know, you've pretty much. Did you see the Huddersfield?
I didn't see that. Is that what scoring was?
Oh,
But
they had very, very strong. Ian Watson when we spoke with
Didn't
Ian
he play
on Wednesday? Yeah, Ian said he's not gonna. Players may go out on loan. Sorry, Joe.
fucking. I'm just.
That's why I sit here. I've got your dad vote.
But here's my go out. Oh, it's the last one. We're going out with a bang.
Sam passes them shades. Go, mate.
I was just going to say, Ian said, certainly for the first few weeks, his players will eventually go out on loan, like Kieran Rush is looking for a championship club for him. But the other players, they are going to be in the reserves week in, week out. So Huddersfield are probably going to walk that reserves competition if they are putting out those type of Super League players.
You know, I quite admire
and I
him
do
for that
like
news.
that.
Oh, yeah,
I
brilliant.
do
It's what
like
we've been
what
crying
Ian's
out
doing.
for, innit?
I do
And
like
moral
what Ian's
follow.
doing.
You've got to actually say that's amazing, isn't it? That he said, right, you know what, this is where we're going to do. We're going to go and win it, and we're going to play our best team, and that's the way we're going to sell it. It's amazing because we went to the Bradford reserve game, Leeds, and there was a massive gulf thing, and I felt sorry for Bradford because they had them young lads out.
Yeah, there were a lot of
Leeds were awesome. Leeds at times were breathtaking.
Corey Johnson, man of the match for mine. He only played half a game.
They were just brilliant to watch.
Yeah, Jackson Field.
But then you'd want to judge them against the Huddersfield team and say, okay, let's have a look because, yeah, you've all got your plaudits against that, but let's go to that next stage. Joe went to
Wigan Cass
reserves, and I think that was, how many first teams would you say our first team?
None, I don't.
None. There you go. So, yeah, Huddersfield
What
with
was
the
that,
bench.
Wigan or
Well,
Castle?
but we need one of the teams like Huddersfield
they
to
were
lead the
Muzzy,
way.
Alex Sutcliffe will play for Castle.
Muzzy,
Reserves. I
Alex
saw that,
Sutcliffe, and then they were like maybe Junior Sember 50-50 and whoever creeping. And then there might have been one
What
more.
were the score, Joe? I didn't see.
12-12.
Oh, it ended a draw.
Yeah, really tight.
I saw the
just
teams,
a complete
but
arm
You'd have
wrestle
loved,
of
you
a
know
game.
what, you'd have loved, like, perfect what you're saying about Huddersfield there. Kieran Hudson, one of our players. Kieran, to whether he's good enough to play first team, we think obviously is. Radas was saying he obviously is. That game would have been, Wigan? If you want to make first team, you go, right, Kieran, go and play against Wigan now, let's see what you've got. And all of a sudden, you can prove yourself. That's what the reserve comp should be for.
And this is what we need. We've been wanting it for a while. It only takes one like Huddersfield to go, well, we're setting our stall out. And then others might be like, well, we need to compete.
Fingers crossed, they all follow suit. I mean,
It'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
I know the Championship clubs will be licking their lips, but
It's tough, innit, because they don't have the squad size to really do that. Where, you know what I mean? Leeds played a few first teamers, Wigan played one or two, Cass played one or two, Huddersfield played a full team of.
Be interesting. We've got Hull and Ulchiaro. I'd say Ulchiaro will have a strong reserves.
Yeah, they should do.
It looks to me like they've got a
We
lot
need a special mention. Remember Scott Morelli? You know, last year he was Wigan. Wigan beat Cass Reserves 100-0 last year, so he's done a severe improvement.
Yeah, but Cass Reserves last year had it was about half the Keithley, half the
I know.
Well, it's a fantastic bloke, Scott. How would you not want to be around Scott Morelli? How would you not want to turn up if Scott said to you that lovely smile he's got and that lovely personality, a young man around Scott's a credit. Isn't
Well, I had my first cup of coffee with him quite randomly the other day, and I just
talked to me. They sat waiting for the players to walk in David Lloyd.
So it were like I say, breath of fresh air. You can see how he's just infectious, and you can imagine he's going to be. We talk about what Cass need going forward. He could be a big part of it. You know, like, so he's perfect fit for that.
He is, but again, I've been thinking about this when you say we say sorry coming back here, but like last year Scott Morrell and this. Scott's had 2 or 3 years experience at coaching.
Just a year, really.
A year. So it's very hard when you've got your likes of your 10-year coaches who would love a gig like that. Sometimes say, "Oh, give him that." You'd be like, "Well, I don't know because."
But I'd argue he's been a player coach for at least 6 years.
Yeah,
I
but
think
you know what I'm saying. Do you have to
clearly,
do the Keithley what he did yesterday? What's he called, Reese? Do you have to do the 4D where you go in and you 5-year stripes at the hard court and then you get the chance to?
Oh, but I think that's what he's doing. I'm not saying he should be head coach at Cass in the next 2 years, but him doing reserves and we're trying to chuck the academy on him. It's it's good to have those people involved in it who've been around for a long time and they're a good character, no doubt about that.
And Mick, and I'm going to do an apology since it's my last show, everybody. Catalans,
I was just moving on.
I'm hoping I've gone by the time you all say what
final game. I had Catalans in comfortably in the top 4, and you all went no.
Did you have him at top 4?
Yeah, you did.
I had him in the top 4.
I had him 6th, but they're looking good so far.
Craig had him in the bottom 4.
Well, I did it. If I tell you the truth now, there's a bit of no show me players. I thought the safest bet because I'd started bottling my opinions more. If I say Catalans, I can't upset nobody. So yeah, probably done the right thing. We're not dare calling that because I'd have had Catalans a lot higher, but I thought, well, that's the least one we can get.
It was an interesting approach by Tony Smith though, because he did say, look, we're going to have a very relaxed approach for this fixture, and yeah, comfortably beaten by 38 points to 6.
But if you watched Hull, do you agree with this? Was you at the Leeds game? Anybody?
Sorry, I wasn't there.
You were there, obviously. You didn't go Leeds.
I've watched the game, yes.
So if you watched the game from where I did, Leeds, Hull won the game. They deserved to win the game, but they looked tired. They had a lot of tired bodies in the last 20 minutes to go. You were looking and thinking, there's a lot of fatigue here.
Well, they did against Cast, didn't they?
Yeah, and I didn't see that. I was thinking, how many can they bring in? And will they dare go with the young ones to Catalans? And I was watching scenarios and I thought, that Catalans fixture's a shocker for them. After that Leeds game and that last 25 minutes, how they could pick a squad up to go to France.
They've got the Catalans with an half empty tank.
Yes, and that's the problem with Catalans. In the good side for Catalans is that if you go there without a full pump, you're going to get done. And
that's what's exactly.
And that's why the week, because you're travelling, you're in and out within a day. You've got a fatigue after. You know what I mean? I think if you give a team a week's gap to go play Catalans, you'd see a different outcome a lot of times. But I think when they play back to back and have to go to France, it's a tough gig.
It's a huge advantage for Catalans. They'd probably pick up 8 points every year, which, and they might not necessarily have been in the UK. So same with Toulouse, the champion. It's such a tough away game because it's so easy for clubs to pick it out and go, well, do you know what? Let's think about next week. Let's just enjoy the weekend away. And
it was a fantastic week of rugby, but I'm going to challenge us all here, guys.
What, for team at week?
Since it's the last show, I'll give you something here. With IMG, we've done a bit of that. We can have player at week.
What about the Championship and League
You are
One?
going to go on to that. I'm sure you're going to do a little bit. Right. I want to leave in a blaze of glory, leave you to the Championship. But here's one for you I'm going to challenge you is IMG, Mick. You're probably the best person, I think, in the UK to talk about this. And I say that a lot to other people. And I don't get people don't rate your knowledge on this.
It's fine.
No, I put you against anybody. We're all waiting against her, lads. It's 4 weeks since we said, where are you, IMG? We're 4 weeks further forward.
Well, IMG did say there was going to be a delay, and yes, there has been a delay.
Mick, give people an idea, or lads, anything, because Ryan said he spoke to somebody from IMG. I think he said that watched the show. But give us something, Mick. What can they revolutionise for fans to go, wow? Give us anything.
Well, for me, it's easy.
What?
I'm all about the nines.
So you think a nines comes?
I think it's for me, it's the best way to get new, young fans and put on something. I've said for years we have to follow what cricket did with the 2020. because that they changed the sport and brought it to a younger audience.
Correct,
a new
and
audience.
the hundreds
And I think
evolved from that.
The hundreds has flipped on from that. That would be sevens, wouldn't it? And the only thing I can think about rugby can do is the nines, because it gets what kids want is tries. And that's what nines will bring. It bring more attacking, more flair, more highlights, more.
Would that be the
shots.
league or just like an end of year comp?
No, I think it'd be a comp. You know, the logistics of it. You know, not that far.
Like a festival of rugby.
Yeah, it'd be a festival. It'd have to be fitting in with the international calendar. But for me, that's the one thing I think is the best way in to a new audience with excitement, and that's so much easier to do. You know, we're talking about the match day experience of fireworks after tries and music and all that, like we did with the 2020. I don't see anything.
Did they scrap it in it because the World Cup? Did they scrap it in Oz this year?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how long. It feels like a little while since we've had it. But
The thing with having a nines fundamentally is, and you've already seen a bit of a backlash now to an idea from your Adam Pearsons, because people realise some clubs, the better supported clubs, and it's the same with the Summer Bash in the Championship. Your better supported clubs actually make money on the back of the Magic Weekend. It's the lower supported clubs who don't have that support who actually lose money, who are the ones, let's get rid of it. Again, it's that sort of parochial tin pot attitude that is holding the sport back. So I agree, Jimmy. And nines would be fantastic, but it's getting the
That's
Super
not
League clubs.
revolutionising, is it?
It's getting the Super League clubs to agree to it. It's getting the Super League clubs to back it.
But my thing on the nines is, I would like to see a lot of fringe players and reserves, but in the nines, you can give players a chance. All you want is speed to a certain extent.
Do you not watch it at Headingley last time?
No.
Oh God, that's what they did.
That's what I mean. So it's not like I'd like to think.
You got 1,000 turn out.
Yeah, I know, but we're talking about let's market it properly. I don't know why, and I've been saying this for years. I even asked someone heavily involved in cricket, why are we not just going cricket 2020? It's this. We need to copy that as close as possible. A slight variation on the product, which is more entertaining to people who want a quick fix. And the only thing that's entertaining to younger people, and I'm talking about the next generations, and even lads who want to go and have 10 pints, is entertaining tries. They're not going to enjoy the Australia-New Zealand World Cup semi-final like we did as rugby league maniacs. They want to see 46 points to 28 and market it properly. It can run and build it.
I get you, but if you was Leeds were quite a good people to promote it last time. They invited all the teams.
But we've got IMG behind it.
I'm not telling you, but Leeds at the time were the best salespeople to do it. And they did the sprint challenge in the middle of it, and they invited all the fans. And Gary,
I remember Jamel Chisholm.
And you watched some unbelievable players. They had all the top junior players. They had the
It was normally a Tuesday, Wednesday night at Headingley. I went to them all.
And they said all the winnings. What they said to the teams, the winnings, they'll get to the players. Suddenly you got. I can remember Greg Eden famously making it. He looked like he was scoring tries for fun at 20-year-old. Yeah. And you saw a lot of players emerge from it. Anyway, the problem was again the paying sort of thing is how many fans wanted to turn out and pay to watch the nines. Gary, I'd say to you, not even 600. I think if they do it,
the only job of it is how do you market it. There would have been more people saying 2020 involved in cricket saying 2020 you've no chance. You know, that's not cricket. It's about the all day. It's about the art and craft of cricket. But it worked, and it didn't just work. It's made cricket the second biggest sport by a mile. Like, it's totally changed it, and now they've got hundreds on the back of it.
Yeah, but my only disagreement with you there is that cricket was traditionally a 5-day sport.
No, they still had one. No, they had loads of one-day counting matches.
One full day of sat there watching a sport, which is a lot different than watching 80 minutes worth of action-packed rugby. Again, there is the occasional
it's like that, isn't it?
Like, I get it, but they were working from at their smallest. It was a one-day event where you'd sit there all day, have your. But even on the one day, you're still having your meal, your lunches.
I know, but I'm just saying. Yeah, I know what you're saying, but you're nitpicking. Some people go to cricket for half of a day after work on one day. 2020, you can go for 2 hours, you can go for 5 hours. It's up to you. So I'm just talking about the actual fundamental of. I think we need a variation on the product, and the variation of the product needs more tries, more obvious entertainment for new audience. You know.
They mentioned nines, haven't they, mate? Go on.
I'll get you some back, Jim, up here. I drop it in on the show once every 4 weeks, but it's what Chess did. Chess online, I'd mention it once every 4. Chess is now absolutely ginormous online. YouTubers get millions and millions and
This is
millions.
what you're doing for 2 hours.
Millions
again,
of
you know,
views.
every day.
Yeah, when I'm bored, yeah. It gets millions of views. Chess. How can you believe chess? Because normally, one day event,
Yeah,
you
that's
sat
long.
there, you think 20 minutes to move. Well, what's revolutionised chess and this complete... It's called Blitz, where you play over 10 minutes, or you play even worse over Bullet.
Space of a minute there, you backed Jimmy and then gone against me, then gone for it.
Because it's called having a debate. That's what debate is. And then now it's Bullet, which is literally 2 minutes. So it's sitting there, bang, 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 bang.
But that's the
And
world,
it's
isn't it?
And it's completely revolutionary. So people now on YouTube, you can click on, watch a chess game in 5 minutes, and you sat there, and you can, and it's digestible.
And that's what that's just how the world's going. People want shorter, quicker, easier things. Even there's not many sports except probably football, because it's so big they don't need to change anything. Most other sports have adjusted in a way. You know, netball have tweaked around with rules. Cricket have done it. Golf have done it. You know, I don't see any other option than we have to make it more appealing. Well, golf have done it with LIV now. It's not
Golf, yeah.
It's not a 4-day tournament. It's a slightly shorter one. You know, again, it's a bit harder to tweak. But they've tried different things with little pitch and putt 9-hole competitions. We need a product that's faster, quicker for the younger audience who just want bang, 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 bang.
But then again, you count.
Craig, my point on the back of that was some clubs are already showing a bit of backlash to IMG. They want to keep the Magic Weekend again. The big supported club like Adam Pearce has come out, he's vocal about it. Mike Rushett says he wants to keep it because they take the most amount of fans there, they sell the most of tickets. Again, the lower supported clubs probably neither here nor there. Fundamentally, Thursday is the D-Day. The clubs are all meeting, they're going to be shown.
We've had about
the
5
blueprint.
D-Days so far.
No, this is happening on Thursday. It's definitely happening on Thursday. We're going to know Thursday evening what the gradings are. Already, there's a little bit of murmurs. You've got to have an academy to be a top flight club. You've got to average 5,000. They're looking at big city clubs. Again, people shoot me down for this, but it's no secret. When we were shown the slides at the presentation, Bradford were mentioned for crowds, York for stadium facilities, Newcastle geographical spread, also London for geographical spread. You know, Newcastle, Bradford, they do have the academies. York, we know in the process, they've done fantastic stuff.
So the
feedback, D-Day.
No, yeah, but what are they deciding?
They're being told what they need to do to be a top flight club on Thursday,
it's the official criteria.
Yeah, so already a couple of championship clubs have contacted me and said, Mick, we're miles off. Clubs already kind of know what they're going to need to do. And the realisation on Thursday is going to draw that half of the championship hasn't got a carry Nell's chance of ever being in the top flight.
Are York, Mick? I would ask you this because I know you'll have a good answer. Are York in the pole position to get this?
No.
Wow.
Only because the top 5 clubs
5,000
on return of an investment, Craig, are Featherstone, Bradford, London. I forget it all. I've got it all wrote down because I asked the RFL. Because the ROI, look, in layman's terms, for the last 5 years,
but the
Championship and League One clubs have been running under a grading pillar system called return on investment. Super League clubs, this is why they got rid of Nigel and everybody, because Nigel wanted to bring it in so the Super League clubs would be under the same system.
I wonder what ROI was.
Return on investment, yeah.
Jimmy Archer was ROI.
Yeah, Craig, so look, on return on investment.
a multi-million-pound business and you don't know what ROI is.
I could have done that.
I mentioned it last week about the advertisement spend. We'll go on to that.
Might start using it now, my ROI.
But no, look, Craig,
sometimes it's Republic of Ireland.
Craig, the easiest way to see who's in the table for strong championship position is taking the current top 5, your Bradfords, your Featherstones, your London, Widnes, Toulouse there, and transfer it across. There you've got your top 5, so those will be in the pole position. Your Bradfords, your Toulouses, your Widnes, your Featherstones. You know, that's ultimately what IMG are going to be looking at. And a lot of the ROI, from when I've spoken to people at IMG, at RFL, a lot of the ROI, what is currently in place at the RFL, is going to transfer across. So don't be shocked on Thursday if There's only a few minor tweaks here or there to the current ROI. You know, fundamentally, it is about governance. It's about crowds. It's about an academy. It's about participation. Do you have a women's team? Do you have a PDFL team? Do you run an 18s? Do you run a 16s? All that is going to be massive green ticks on getting you in that top flight.
Well, certainly clubs there. So you're saying Bradford then?
I'm not saying Bradford at all.
The only thing I've got...
No, I didn't get Bradford out of that.
Well, this is why, though, I think...
I'm not saying Bradford.
Yeah, but I think what Joe's
There's only 3 championship clubs, and I've said this for weeks now, who are going to benefit from this, and that will be Bradford, Newcastle, London, because historically, they've put the money in on junior development. They, in terms of participation, and we're talking about the catchment, the community here, Bradford, and under 16s, Newcastle, and under 16s, London, and under 16s, Newcastle, Bradford, London, and under 18s, the run of reserves. Well, you can see now how this is to IMG licking the lips.
There's one category that I'm most interested in, and I'm looking forward to hearing it in a bit more depth. It is fans, because they must have something in place. And just let me finish this before I don't want you to get defensive about Bradford. Bradford are the only club really out and Toulouse. But I'm talking about the UK ones who I feel are in the same race.
I can feel a Sheffield agenda coming in.
Who have had... No, Sheffield are very much out of this. Sheffield are like York, you know. I would like to see how they're going to address... You can say Bradford confidently will get more than 5,000 average if they go back to Super League, right? But you can't just say you need an average of 5,000, because obviously there's got to be an element of potential. York... If they get into Super League and have a couple of years in there, they have to say...
I just want to pause you.
Yeah, well, this is what I'm saying.
From IMG said, no club is going to be this picked and put it on potential. No one's going to be picked up and put up, because this is what's happened with the sport. Clubs have been in Super League, we're going to average this, we're going to do this with a new stadium. Unless it is absolutely signed, sealed,
there's no way.
No one is getting...
There's no way.
That is what he said, that's what IMG said.
Right, but there's no way... They are shutting a door on York. No way.
I agree.
I never said that. I never said they're shutting a door on York.
Right. Let me finish then. They're not shutting a door on York. York are not going to average 5,000 while they're in the Championship. I guarantee you. That day will never happen. And I do not think they will say, well, York are never getting in the top flight because of that one thing. I think there will be a separate section for if certain clubs... Sheffield...
I never said
I'm not saying you are... Yeah, we did. You just said that every club will have to average more than 5,000.
Yeah, a crowd, to get that tick. If you average more than 5,000, you get a tick.
Yeah, so if you don't get a tick of 5,000...
You lose points on that category.
Yeah, but you can still get in. That's all I'm...
You might get a tick which York will on the stadium.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm looking forward to on Thursday to see that, because they've got to allow for potential. That's what I'm saying. Potential crowds is a massive area. There's only precious few who've had the chance to prove what they can get, and others like Wakey, Salford, Huddersfield prove what they can't get. That's a big factor for me.
No, listen, you're right, but like I said, Jimmy, crowds, they'll be told on Thursday which are the golden pillars, which are going to be weighted.
Can we see, Mick, anybody, say Cass and Wakey struggling, and they finish struggling this year?
Yeah.
Can anybody leapfrog them too? Will it happen? Will it happen?
Yes.
Go on then.
Word's already out. There's one club in the Championship, I suspect Toulouse, that tick more boxes than a current Super League club.
How does Toulouse, other than fans and stadium?
There's going to be absolute... There's going to be...
That's what I was told. As it's not gone live yet, but they were very clear with IMG.
I think that's
when this finally goes live, Craig. London nowhere near. Nowhere near. No offence to London, they're not going to have London in with crowds of 1,000. You can talk about potential crowds and look.
Toulouse are head and shoulders. I've been saying it for ages, haven't I? We disagree, but I think Toulouse...
and this is where Toulouse actually benefit the Super League clubs, because under the IMG proposals, like Catalans are going to have to do, Toulouse are going to have to self-fund. They're going to have to pay for the Super League clubs to come. They won't be taking any central funding. They'll be sorting out their own TV deal and getting their own riches from the broadcast deal in France. You're a Mark Grattan at Castleford. You're a Mike Rush at St Helens. They're going to cap it at 2 expansion clubs. Well, you've got your 2 expansion clubs there, Toulouse and Catalans, and they're not taking any money, and you're getting paid by them to go to the south of France to play them. That's what I'm saying.
Did you know one of the interesting things is, and please don't say
And Toulouse and Catalans have to sign up to this, by the way, and they both have done, which is why they're in the process.
You mentioned some other day, and please don't mention it now, because it's... you know what we said about if they get the Sky Games and then you can use the Sky Games. This is what I think, and we'll pick it up in a couple of years. The pay-per-view system will happen. Yes. The pay-per-view system will happen. What we called in the papers all that time ago, because there's 6 games or 4 or 5 games a week not being used for any marketing purposes for this game. Do you get me?
I don't think it'll be by pay-per-view though.
No, it will be. Let me finish. What we said in them papers all them years ago, and I said, it has to happen because, as I say, if you watch Sky get 2 games, there's no Channel 4. We've still got 2 or 3 games per week in the Super League that are not being used for any gain at all. That's got to find a vacuum or somewhere to put them games. If that means pay-per-view, which
but I'm saying there'll be a difference.
The Rugby League app wouldn't be. It hasn't been successful enough to carry that. But I think if the clubs did it themselves, what we said all them years ago, and they would be, and it might not be. Will it stop I said this yesterday to a player, and he said, "Yeah, but does that stop the fans coming?" I said, "No, because I still think the fans would come. It'll just be able to volume it to a Rugby League fans.
Yes.
What we can't afford in the game, if we do that, we can't afford all Rugby League fans with all the games on one night a week."
I think it's got to be on the app.
Got to be different. Do you get me? Because we're all Rugby League fans now. We're all watching. We're all being used. All nudges are being used for Super League on one night. We've got to spread that about. Do you get me? So if you've got a game on Saturday and you've got a game on a Sunday, the same Rugby League fan, how many games does a Rugby League fan watch? Just 1, 2 or 3
Well, in week 1 we had Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and this week it's not a Super League game on Saturday, is it? So
it's losing something there, isn't it? You'd be like, why would you not separate that?
Well, you've only got to look this week. You've got the Wigan Catalan game on the Thursday, and then everything else on the Friday, barring Hull Salford on the Saturday. But that clashes with the Channel.
One thing I'm enjoying at the moment. Do you enjoy the moment of football being every day?
I think it's got to be. I think it's got to be on the app. I think they need to find a way, get some proper. I'm not saying the people who currently work on it aren't proper, but invest a bit and find a bit more money, invest in it, because the app it's bad. I'm willing to take stick for that one. I'm willing.
It's not a fantasy rugby one. It's worse.
Well, that's a different app, so that's also bad. Yeah. But what?
I just said to Craig, I need to speak after you. Sorry, no, but I'm listening, Joe.
I think you'd slap me if I did that to you. So the hour league, the hour league has got to be better. It's really bad. The only to be honest, Cornwall brilliant. I like what they did last year, but the only other ones they put on a Barrow game, or they put 2 Barrow games on so far. I don't know if Barrow have done a deal. I don't know, but the 2 Barrow games have made it on so far. Barrow Toulouse, Barrow York. I don't see why on Friday night, 1 game on Sky, why are the others not on our league, properly done up? You can't
on different days though.
Whatever, yeah, but
you can't go against the Sky game. You can't go against the Channel 4 game.
Yeah, you can't. No, so be on different days then. But then on the app, that's not my point. The on the app you can't even scroll backwards and forwards to watch highlight. You can't you press play, and that's it.
Live only.
You can only pause. No. You can rewatch it. No, you can pause, but you can't. There's no slider to say, "Oh, let me rewatch that 10 minutes." You press play and you've got to watch it out or reload it and watch it from the start. That's how behind they are on the app. And if all the other, I'm going to NBA, NFL app, you can watch them all on the apps. You pay a monthly fee, and then you pay then you pay the bit extra if you want to watch certain game. Why have they just not implemented that?
And content.
Why have they just not implemented that?
Here's one for you. What we said before. We're about that there. Sam will tell you the reason. Because of the cameras now, I'm in the tech for the games as well. That has a massive effect on what you're watching. It's the budget on the cameras. So Sky will use X amount of cameras. We use for Adam Miller's testimonial game, which were pay-per-view. We used 2 cameras, and then we got it all set up to do the presentation team. But Sam will tell you, I would say in the Our League app, I bet they use. Would that even be off 1 camera or 2?
I've worked for the Our League. I'll tell you, sometimes it's 1, 2, sometimes it's 3.
Right, there you go.
But that's got nothing to do with the ability of adding a scroll.
Actually watching it. You're watching that Cornwall game, what you watch.
Joe,
I'm not bothered about the I'm not bothered about that. You know what you're doing. You're watching.
I get the point about the Our League app, but we're not talking about the Our League app. Craig's point was about the club streaming their games. Craig will verify this. I was called by a Super League club last week. Was I not?
Yeah.
They want me to call their games. They were talking through the phases. Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3. Phase 3 is Super League clubs being able to live stream their games home and away on a pay-per-view platform. It is coming in.
Well, I get a statue outside Rugby League.
I don't think that's the best thing to do.
No, hear me out, Joe.
I don't think that's the best thing to do.
It's not going to happen overnight, but something tells me, I know you worked hard with this, Craig, and I appreciate it, and if it all comes off, you know, I'll always look to you as a father figure. You know,
brother, yeah.
Yeah, no, father figure who did the deed at 16. No,
Sam, cut that.
What does that even mean?
No, but good thing
When he was 16.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
he had me at 16. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to give him a bit more gracious on the
Sounded
edge.
far more senior than that.
But when they were talking through the phases, you know, Phase 3 was a Super League club having an in-house setup, charging fans a monthly fee. No prices were discussed because this is all like in its infancy. Streaming home and away. So that tells me something down the line, whether or not the Sky TV deal, if they're going to be in again for next year, because we know it ends this year, is TNT Sports coming in? That tells me there's already talk. If clubs are ringing around and asking about commentary equipment.
What's the main issue with the RFL? What's everything when we ask the RFL to do something? What's the answer every single time? What's the answer why they can't? Because they can't afford it.
Right.
They can't afford it. Why would they not do it on the hour league?
So this is why clubs are doing it, Joe. This is why clubs are doing it.
Yeah, but I don't. But the issue is the people who run the club.
The clubs that have
the governing body who runs the whole league, mate. The club Warrington can survive without pay prescription. Leeds can, Hull KR can. A lot of them could. That's not a be all. The RFL currently are struggling to put any money into anything because they have no money. Why would they not make our league and put them all on there that aren't clashing with it? Charge the money and generate a whole boat of money. Are they saying it will not be profitable? Because if I'm backing up the Cornwall one, that can't be that expensive to do what they do for
your
Cornwall.
problem is
most fans would still watch that.
I looked at all the fixtures yesterday. And the one to our league app on yesterday. There's nothing coming this week so far. I looked at it.
There's nothing on.
Nothing on. So probably the views have been that low this year.
Correct.
That nobody's
watching it.
Finish, Joe. No one's watching it.
No one's watching it.
Because they've done Barrow Toulouse, Barrow York.
Whatever they've done.
And let me tell you
why
this
would they
now.
not put Super League?
What I'm saying
No.
to you is, it's low, right? And it has.
And the app's rubbish.
But we know it.
Well, I'm not saying the app's rubbish.
And there's
no.
This is what I said with our league. What we've talked about today. If you said to me what's my wishes for this show, which should have happened, something like this should have been took to our league app to preview all them games. It should have been took there, and it should have been magazine show. It should have been profiles. They tried to do it, but they didn't have, in my opinion, they just didn't get that right formula.
Correct.
Which gets people like 20,000 people watching our league app, and then you're advertising games. Please watch.
No offence, but you're right, Craig. You don't do a championship preview show on our league or the Sportsman and flood it with Super League stars. No. You don't. You get people who know, live and breathe the Championship or League One. You do. Me and Jimmy know the Championship. Me and Jimmy should have been on.
No, you're not saying a bad joke again.
No, I'm only joking. But fundamentally, what's happening in the Championship this year is the clubs have to agree to be shown. They've already said, Bradford, Toulouse will show you. Bradford are going to turn around, and rightly so. No, because that affects our crowds. And other clubs like Widnes have said the same. And that is the right course of action, in my opinion, because I've seen the viewing figures for those Barrow and York and Barrow Toulouse games. They are abysmal. And that is me from somebody who lives and breathes the Championship. The demand is not there, sadly. There's no demand to watch York, there's no demand to watch Toulouse, and there's no demand to watch Barrow.
Because you're using champ games on an app that isn't very. I'm sorry for whoever's created it. Like I'm sure the budget were low and all the things. So I presume it were very, very hard to do. So it's probably the best thing with the budget you can come up with just to cover you there. But it's not it's so behind on the technology. It's like having an app from 2010. It's that You can't scroll, you can't go back, you can't do anything. The way it's hard to even click on it. It says live stream. The presentation of it's rubbish.
You sound like me. You sound like me 5 years ago. So.
because you're saying
you
no.
know what?
You've not even give our league a fair shot. It's not even got a fair shot. We've done it again. We've said no to something and we've given it half a go. Oh, let's scrap that off because you've given it a 50% go. It's rubbish.
We've listen. Back to the point. There is, I think in time to come. I went to my friend Saturday. I'm not going to say which friend it was, but he had the old what you call the stick. Whatever it is.
Jimmy knows about them.
I don't know anything, so you're free to come here. I'm paying a fortune for everything. You're free to come here. But what I'm saying is, eventually, if they don't get a things, it will go away from Sky. This is probably me leaving a bit of Mystic Craig in years to come. I think it'll go pay-per-view to certain clubs. I think it's whether the RFL app can beat the individual clubs marketing it themselves. That's the way the game will generate its own money in years to come. There will be a tied-in deal, but it'll be a lot less money, and it'll be picked on, can they get to massive numbers, but they won't get the Sky. What Sky have been very good with our sport is, even without the viewing figures, there you go. And when they give us the money they have paid us, over the period I've been on this show, would be, let's say, 160 million quid's gone into the game. And what we've at times given back is appalling. Correct. Sky Sports, and I hope I said this on the way out of the podcast world, is they have been amazing for this sport. They've generated millions and millions. We've probably let them down with a lot of teams, the product, the way we've sold it, the grounds. And IMG have come along and hopefully say, look, you've had all this money, what have you done with it? You've still got piss pots outside, you've still got this outside, you've still got no game day. They're trying now. The YouTube, we called it out on the show all them years ago. Let's get YouTube. What's wrong with putting highlights of a game on YouTube? It's nothing. They're all doing it. This show's been amazing for 50,000 ideas. Amazing. But I think in the future they have to go to pay-per-view. But we had central deal. It could be Channel 4, it could be something like that, but it won't be that type of money. And they'll say, look, we want to buy these games. You might get a channel buy these games. So I'd spread it. This is my opinion. I'd probably spread a little bit. I don't think it's healthy now for a one tier, only money. So you're taking your soul, you're saying, give me that 2 million a year, you can have it, but really I know it's not going out to that many people, whereas Channel 4 can go out to a lot of money because they're not, So I think they've got to think of it. They're the right team, by the way, to think of all these things, but I think that's the way it'll go. And I think home clubs will pay-per-view it themselves. We won't have a Premier League deal. What they're doing, we won't have that chance of clubs in Premier League don't need to do it because they get 100 million a year to go and invest off what they're showing. We're not going to get to them heights, unfortunately, because of the NRL and because of where our sport is. We're not going to get to them heights. So I think
the first Dolphins game, the stadium figure 30,000.
Yeah, and the viewing figures were. It'd be interesting.
Dolphins.
Yeah.
32,000, I think.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
So bottom line is we've got a lot to do, but Mick, I'm going to leave it here because it's the road's on for me. The journey's been amazing, boys.
You can't do this to me.
I want to thank you all.
You can't.
Listen, I'm going to say you can't. I'm going to send you an order for a beer. Hence they said to Marido. So what I'm saying is, Mick, can I say my most enjoyable moment in all the podcasts I've had? And I've had some great times with you as well. We've had a great laugh, haven't we? We've all become friends. Sam's been a legend. Sam's had his moments, like he has had his moments on Sambo, but we've loved it. But you've fallen asleep on that show, and I hope if Sam could just dig that out one more time, Michael.
Great, best
to this.
If I can watch that one more time,
I've got it on my phone.
I'm sure Sam will. If we could just roll that one moment, Mick.
You've got to offer a bit more. Mick, have you gone quiet? Mick?
Yeah.
What?
Totally agree. Well, thank you very much for coming on, Jordan. Thank you very much to Mr. Dennis Betts. Dennis is, I think he's... No, I'm still here, Craig. Can you hear me?
Are you holding the phone?
Yeah. Moment, Mick. Your rants have been legendary over years. Absolutely. I'm trying to think, Sam, of some of the best.
Everything has always been from the heart.
From the heart. He's had some amazing moments. And by the way, earlier on in the show, for a bit of a laugh for you, when I first got introduced to Mick through Sam asked us to do this Yorkshire radio, and I think me and Mick got asked on.
Well, we'd already met.
No, I think you'd have a bit with Joe on that day with John Baskin, but I've not met you. And we came to a show at Ellen Road. But what I'm saying is, in the early days, we got a gig. Yeah, we got a gig. Best ever.
Oh my God.
He's when we got going, we got a college to do the podcast in the very early days, and Sam got acquired one at Leeds Uni.
We're at Leeds Trinity.
And getting Mick there on the day was the most biggest challenge we had. So you get Sam ring you and say, be there. He'd be on 2 buses, 3 trains, and you'd have the preview, wouldn't you, Sam, from 3 of Mick on a train in middle of Yarmouth, and he'd say, everything's good, boys. I'll be there. And then an hour later you'd get, you're not going to believe it. The trains are down, station 23, wasn't it? And then how many times I'd be sat at the show on my own with young lad who were helping Sam, and I'm sat there, and we're all, and then it come.
Owen now does Featherstone Rovers.
And then it'd come and it'd be, guys, I'm not going to make it fuck time, and I'm like, oh no, I'm doing the show on my own again. So I'm sat there, and I'd never fronted the show, and I'm thinking, 10, 9, and then sometimes the door would bust open, and he'd have his hair on end and his glasses. He doesn't do it now. His glasses would be steamed, and he'd go like, "Jesus, show me! You're not gonna believe it. Show me!" And we always believed it because you'd get the same. You'd have 50 things that had happened.
Yeah.
A bloke, a cat's ran over this. There's a dog. He'd have one exam. He'd have 50, and then he'd walk from train station, so he'd have his back. I've dropped him off that many times and started laughing and gone, mate. But Michael, it's been a pleasure. And I want us to
Don't be saying this is the end.
No, we've got our own. We said we're going to do things that are going to generate stuff, which are having that hard edge. And Sam, we're all going to keep together. We're going to have our things. But if this is the last one, let's make it £1 million sponsorship. No, if it is the last one, it's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed every minute, boys. Joe, what a person little Joe has been. Jimmy Mack. I thought the World Cup, we hit our peak, boys, 9-2 on YouTube, 27,000 overall. One of the best shows we ever did. Yeah, we're on that gay, everyone loved it. We got the Aussies, we got everyone loving it. Yeah. I think we've given that much to the game without anything back, guys. That's my thing.
No,
Only thing we've had back is the fans.
I agree, Craig. And my own personal point on that is, I was in Scarborough on Tuesday. I won't name the person, but a Super League chairman's phoning me up and he's having a rant about, oh, thank you for what you've said, meaning he weren't happy what I'd said, even though what I'd said was the truth that had come from his mouth to me, and I'm explaining him on the platform at 7:15 in the pissing rain in Scarborough. I'm like, look, I think you're out of order having a go at me.
How's he got to?
Can I say my biggest loyalty? Can I say my biggest loyalty?
I'm just making a point here, Craig.
Can I say my biggest loyalty?
This is part of the reason why we've had
Let me give this deserve my credit on this. Do you know how many times I've been asked to get rid of you on this show? Do you know what I've said for 9 years?
Go on.
If Gledel goes, I go. Do you know how many times I've said, politically Mick's not probably best for your company? Do you know what I said? But he's my mate. He's all right. He's got a good heart and he gives a lot to the club.
Oh,
leave him on that one.
I'm not going to cry.
I'm kidding. I'm serious. And over years, I used to always think you've got a great heart. You give so much to sport. And you get yourself muddled in your words sometimes, like we all do. We've all done it. Joe can rant in his face because why is he? Jimmy, we've all done it. And Sam, we've all give so much. And I tell you what, we just said about that the app. Let's hope that they do. Let's hope Joe's idea app that they do get a show like this. Get some proper characters on and go, listen, hopefully this is the beginning of people doing shows like this in Rugby League, but make it fun and a bit of entertainment to do what we don't mind an argument.
You need the characters, you need the personality, you need people who are not afraid to go under the covers, not just sit on it and be relaxed and look at me in my new bed. No, but you do.
You do, I agree with you. I agree with you.
But no, the point I was trying to say, Jimmy, when you said, why is that important? It is important what happened in Scarborough.
I know it's important, but he was trying to wrap up his career and you brought
No,
I get it.
No, I just wanted to get it because Craig is right. There's a lot of people inside the sport who sit there and wait for this to come on YouTube or Facebook over the years and watch it but we never get any toffee. We never get any credit. The only people who've ever given us any credit is the lovely people who, when we go to games, we go to grounds, and they want to hug us with warmth and love and cuddles, and they're like, "Sure, mate."
I don't know which fans you mean, Nick.
No, it's true. It's right, though, isn't it? There's definitely, as you've said historically, would we be if it were politics? Which colour would we be?
We're absolutely
Green
Party.
No, I don't think we are.
Well, you're wearing blue, and we know we're in Yorkshire. I'm kind of wearing red.
I'm a Labour councillor, so be careful.
Listen, I will quite happily admit I am an active socialist. You know, power to Labour. Keir Starmer, it's happening.
But we would be, wouldn't we? The show's been brilliant. You know, I always watch when Saturday morning AM finished with. Tim Lovejoy, and they were brilliant.
We always look after the little people.
Yeah, they could never get that. What they've tried to do is get that gel. They couldn't get it, and they can't.
Horribly wrong.
They can't get it in their heads. Why they can't get it? And I laugh because it has to gel. It has to be personalities that make it. But again,
that's a bit clean.
Jimmy, put the music in as I walk off.
No, Craig, this.
No, I want to do my walk.
I was going to say, but where can people catch us? Because people will be like,
we're on it. We're going to hopefully speak to Sam after the thing and
there'll be
get
some
it.
Commentaries. So me and Craig, we're going to do live commentaries. Maybe that's how we get you. We draw you in with our live commentaries.
Yes.
Half time, we have a little bit of a gag.
We're going to do some great features with individual coaching for people who are trying to get into coaching game. We're going to invite players to come here. I also want to offer the facility to junior clubs who are struggling with getting the facilities. We did it last year. We'll come and give it for free, and we'll get some players here and they can coach. We'll give a bit back and do it our way for a bit, and we'll get on with it and let them try and promote something, because they all think they're better us, but I'm not seeing one yet of ways.
Final words from you, Craig. Final words.
It's first to cry then.
I'm not crying.
You are?
I'm not. I'm an emotional at heart. I'm not crying
right
over
then,
this.
let's do 30 seconds.
Right, go through doors and piss off.
On that note, right, we're off. See you later, guys. The lads are going to championship.
You need to say bye to the loyal fans.
On that note, love you all. I'm off. Loads of work to do. I've actually got my shorts on, so I think people don't realise we sit with shorts underneath here.
I didn't realise you had.
Right, we're
the
on.
king is going. The king is going. He's walking. He's opening the door.
See you, King.
It's glorious, radiant sunshine here in North Yorkshire.
A grey cloud has come over the show me offices as Craig departs.
He'll be crying now. He don't like to do. He's emotional at heart, is old Craig. He'll be tearing up now.
What there needs to be is a backlash to bring him back.
Start the process now.
Start the process now.
Everyone wear a ribbon at your next Rugby League game.